madogo wanajaribu hayawezi kutuzuia.
This comes as some group of youth allegedly sent by Kieni MP Kanini Kega blocked Ruto's convoy on his visit to Nyeri. They tried to cause chaos by barricading the road with stones and lighting bonfires.
Nataka niungane na viongozi wale wenzangu wengine kwa kuwaambia pole, kidogo kumekuwa na matatizo hapa na pale, lakini mimi nataka niwahakikishia kwamba matatizo haya ni ya muda na ni muda mfupi sana, kwa sababu tuko na imani na tunamwamini Mungu aliye hai, na shetani alishindwa tayari, hana mamlaka yoyote ya kuweza kutuzuia tuende kanisani.
The leader of the Afghan resistance group waging an intense battle against the Taliban in Panjshir Valley has said he is open to enter peace talks. Ahmed Massoud said he supported a plan put forward by religious clerics for a negotiated settlement and called on the Taliban to end their offensive. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is SpiceFM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
Started off Monday morning not too badly. A lot of traffic already building up on Mombasa Road this morning, getting out into the city. It is Monday, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens. We know that there will be extra excavation on that road today, so it's likely that traffic will be more of a headache than it was in previous days. So we're going to look out for that and see what exactly is happening there in a short while. Oh, also seeing some traffic building up on the Thika Superhighway getting into the city, but it's not too terrible right now. It seems that everybody is waking up this Monday morning, so we'll keep an eye on things and see how we're going to keep things moving. SpiceFMKE, that's how you can get in touch with us on Twitter. Text on 40127. It's Monday morning. Let's hope it doesn't get manic and keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
Good
your
morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy New Week. This is Monday. It's the 9th day of... No, it's the 6th day of the 9th month. All right. 2021.
Done.
Yeah, how do you write the month? 6 and 9, and then 21. Kenya's biggest conversation, it begins now. 7 minutes after 6. How you doing, Ndu?
I am fine, thank you, Eric. How are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, it's just the two of us today. Mr. Muga has basically just decided to take a break.
Basically just.
Yeah, he's basically just decided. I'm going to take a break. So he's going to be away for this whole week until next week. But we're here and we will be looking at everything that's happening around the world. Everything that's happened over the weekend. Quite a bit, huh?
Quite some. Of coups and clashes and I don't know what. Things happening on the continent. It's madness.
Eish. So in the country, there's the whole usual politics of calling each other names and denying each other access to churches because of whatever reason.
Busting up church service and
Imagine.
funerals.
But as all this is happening, there are people who are seriously facing insecurity. Villages being attacked left, right, and center. The National Security Advisory Council meeting, and its meeting just means nothing to the people who are heavily armed. Because they hear, Ati, you've met. Okay.
Good for you.
Raid a
Boom.
village. Something else. Oh, the government is saying, talking tough. We're going to act, and we're going to act very tough. Okay. Raid a village. So there are people who are living in serious insecurity in Laikipia County and other parts of the country as well, in West Pokot, in Baringo, in Elgeyo Marakwet. And all we are seeing from our political leaders is a lot of nonsense. What we are seeing from our security agencies is not much action
At all.
that is taking place
We also have 400,000 people on the brink of starvation.
in just one county.
Well, actually, no. Well, across, Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River, Lamu. They're the hardest hit of the 12. That's also happening right now. Not it's going to happen tomorrow, or it happened in the past. Current state of affairs, current situation, 400,000 people on the brink of starvation. Not that they're running out of food, that they do not have food today in this country. Where else the nonsense that you're talking about is going on? People being blocked from entering a church service, speaking about politics during a funeral. People are dying at the same time. From clashes, people are also dying from hunger in the same country.
And we're just here. We are just here.
Small.
Hey.
Hard small.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And then in Mali, or Guinea, they decided to decide. Okay, we'll be talking about all these things as we go on with the show. So first, COVID. Let's catch up.
Let's catch up with COVID. 221 million cases around the world, 4.5 million deaths, 198 million, 36,657 recoveries. It's what we're looking at for COVID in the world. A lot more countries really having an issue with the increase of cases. We did see that, you know, a lot of the European countries, especially on the western side, the United States, opening up their economies and saying, look, in as much as there's COVID, what we're saying is we are seeing some countries going as far as a third and a fourth boost. I believe we spoke about Israel going for a fourth booster. The United States encouraging those who have been fully vaccinated to even go ahead and get a third and fourth booster, just to make sure that you have all bases covered. These are the conversations that we're going to be having in the very near future. That in as much as they say you needed 2, you will need 3, you will need 4, because of the fact that we don't have treatment for COVID at the moment. We will see people getting more in terms of booster shots. And then begs the question, if we've not been able to get 1 or 2 in some parts of the world, especially on the continent, we've not been able to get 1 or 2 vaccinations for the majority of the population. When are we going to start having the conversation about 3 or 4? Because remember that for a lot of these vaccinations, we're still dealing with the emergency authorization. We're not dealing, I believe it's just one of the vaccines now that is fully approved for use. When are we going to get to the point whereby we can say, all right, go in and get your 3rd and 4th booster, when we've not been able to cover people for 1st and 2nd even? So it's a worrying conversation for a lot of people at the moment. The United States is now at 40 million cases. India is at 33 million. Brazil is at 20 million. And all of these cases are climbing and climbing. But if we look at what's happening in Kenya, 480 cases positive yesterday from a sample size of 5,668. That positivity rate from that particular sample then is set at 8.5. So the campaign is still strong to get as many people vaccinated as possible. The country is now at 4.2 million vaccines having been administered. You know, but I'm a bit... The question is right now, with all the vaccines that have, you know, trickled into the country over the past 7 days, where is the communication in terms of where you can go today to get a vaccine and be sure that you will get one? We still have not been hearing this. It just happens that people are going out and your friends are telling you on a WhatsApp group and you hear vaccination center here, vaccination center there. In terms of the drive to get this, unfortunately, it's a bit wanting right now.
And you wonder why. You know,
why not just say, right?
You just wonder why, because clearly they have a plan and they already know this is where we are distributing the vaccines. Why not just say X number of vaccines sent to this centers, go get them. Why not just say that? And then also, why not explain? So Johnson & Johnson have arrived. Who's getting Johnson & Johnson? Who's getting the one shot? Because if you get the single shot, then it means that you go once
and you're done.
And people need to know, I got the Johnson & Johnson, so I'm done. Or I got the AstraZeneca, so I still need to wait a couple of weeks to get the second one.
I don't understand this. I don't understand why we can't just be very clear. You'd rather say, for all that we have right now, give it out. Let people get jabbed, and then we move on and bring the second, bring in the second batch. But it looks very untidy right now, unfortunately. And flying in the face of saying that, all right, the world that we are part of is saying at some point that you will need a third and a fourth to go towards what they will call a vaccination passport, a COVID passport, to have things like that. How are we moving then to even be in line with what the rest of the globe is asking?
Okay. One of those things that you just don't understand, why the government is doing what the government is doing, but the government is serikali, so it just maintains top secret for everything. Is the government awake? It's a secret.
It's a secret if they're awake.
Yes. It's 14 minutes after 6. Kenya's biggest conversation, live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you online? Let's see. Koriot Nandi County. We are tuned. Good morning. Hey, Safi Laban. Everybody else, say hello, and we'll be saying hello to you shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Gone are the days when hiring should be about hitting the brick wall, because we understand how much it means to have the ideal candidate working for you and your organization. That's why at Standard Jobs website, we offer the complete employer dashboard that lets you interact fully with applicants, lets you track the full hiring process through a qualified specific smart search tool. What's more, we offer a full-on custom branded page that lets your company stand out with your own to choose custom page. So visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/jobs today and let's help you find the next ideal candidate for you.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather with Spice FM.
All right, looking at partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs today, currently at 14 degrees. It'll go to highs of 22 and lows of 13. Into Nakuru, 15 degrees, light rain this morning, highs of 23 and lows of 14. Nyeri's raining this morning as well at 14. It'll go to highs of 20. Taking a look into Kisumu this morning, 19 degrees, mostly cloudy conditions, highs of 28 and lows of 17. In Kakamega, it's 16 degrees, mostly cloudy, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Mombasa this morning is raining as well at 23, highs of 28 and lows of 23. Rain in Malindi as well at 24. It'll go to highs of 28 today. Let's look out into Kampala, where it's 21 degrees and partly cloudy, highs of 26 and lows of 17. Partly cloudy conditions at 22 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 30 and lows of 22. It's raining in Lagos at 25, highs of 29 today. And in Kinshasa, mostly cloudy conditions rule the skies, highs of 31 and lows of 22. Out in Paris, it's 17 degrees and clear, highs of 29 and lows of 16. Mostly cloudy conditions at 16. A hazy London this morning, highs of 27 and lows of 16. Out in Beijing, rain showers at 18, highs of 23 and lows of 13. Sunday night is mostly cloudy in New York. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 21.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
All right,
Spice.
a very good morning wherever you're tuned in. People are online, aren't they?
Yes, quite a number of people online this morning. Bungoma, good morning. That's what Philip Kibe is tuned in from. Dean Powers is tuned in from a rainy Malindi. Ed Gitonga says it's darn cold in Nyeri. It's actually drizzling and taking a walk to work. Okay, walking in the drizzling frigidity. Sky Karish says good morning. Titus Umbeta tuned in as well and says good morning. Moses Gashari says we are most welcome for his birthday celebrations today. Well, happy birthday, Moses.
Happy birthday, Moses.
Josephine Orlando says good morning. And Tobila Talamini tuned in as well from Ispatani as usual. Eliud Sabila is tuned in from Kampala this morning. Phil Collins says, I'm tuning from Mbakasi. I think it's the issue of blocking other leaders triggers alarming incitement to other parts of the country. And that's the whole church issue, right? Okay. Nyamwancha Omukor says, good morning, tuning in from Machakos and plugs in from Mombasa. That's where Ruben Kamundi is. Leban, yes, we heard you, seen you. Good morning. Simon Onyango tuned in from Kisumu. And Salome Nganga tuned in this morning from Meru. Beta Ashley tuned in from Machakos. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So today's proverb on behalf of City Muga. It's a Maasai proverb. You know where you come from, but you do not know where you're going to. You know where you come from, but you do not know where you're going.
Do you not?
No.
Do you ever know where you're going?
No. You don't.
Or you don't know where you're going to end up?
Nope.
You don't know where you're going?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. You're just in the negative.
You don't know.
Okay.
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 Ama, you know.
Where I'm going? Today.
Let's look at the headlines.
Wow.
So, shall we dispense with this nonsense?
Yeah, let's just do it once and for all. Get out of the way.
Okay. So people are dying in the country. People are facing insecurity. But what are the headlines? A split cabinet like no other. This is basically an analysis in the news. Page 4 and 5. On a whole Monday morning, this is what we're waking up to. A split cabinet like no other. Cabinet divided as ministers wade into 2022 succession row. This is not the first time we're seeing such a headline. DP, cornered or simply changing tack? Okay, does it matter? President has openly differed with his deputy and even asked him to quit government, and with cabinet secretaries taking on the DP, it's not surprising the top decision-making body has not met for 6 months. Huh? The cabinet has not met for 6 months.
Sheesh. Truth.
Okay, just looking at how many CSs have talked about Ruto, CS Fred Matiang'i, CS Joe Musheru, CS James Macharia, CS Keriako Tobiko, and the cabinet is charged with organization and coordination of government after an executive order by the president. Such meetings were preceded by those of the National Development Implementation and Communication Cabinet Committee, chaired by Dr. Matiang'i, that sat every Tuesday. Last Friday, a 10 a.m. meeting at Harambee House that would have broken the cabinet's 6-month hiatus flopped. Sources told the Standard that Uhuru had planned to reshuffle his cabinet after the meeting, kicking out those with political ambitions and others affiliated with the DP. But the president reportedly caved in after intense lobbying from a section of his cabinet and intelligence brief. For a long time, there has been speculation over a cabinet reshuffle, sparking anxiety among those likely to be replaced by allies of opposition leaders. Blah, 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 insiders, blah. So anyway, nothing new. The Nation, shame of Uhuruto men in church fight. A tiny church in Kieni, Nyeri County, was yesterday turned into a theatre of political intolerance that pitted President Kenyatta's supporters against those of his estranged deputy William Ruto. The rival groups clashed in a chaotic day of drama amid claims of state involvement in the fracas. So we are done. Okay, now let's look at the news. What's in the news?
Okay, so what's happening? 400,000 people face starvation in Coast, Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River, and Lamu. Those are the hardest hit out of the 400,000 that we are looking at. So let's look at the details of what exactly is going on here. Before it was just that, okay, well, there is drought, so people are starving. Okay. More than 400,000 people at the coast are in dire need of food today, with 4 out of the region's 6 counties requiring urgent interventions. According to authorities, Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River and Lamu are among 23 counties on the national government's red list as drought ravages Kenya's north, east and coast regions. A number of boarding schools in Tana River have already been closed due to lack of water, as the humanitarian organizations warn of a dire situation ahead if urgent measures are not taken. That we're still talking about this. The cabinet is set to meet tomorrow to discuss measures to help starving Kenyans. Okay. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya said some of the measures the government is considering is buying livestock from pastoralists and cash transfers. The government, through the National Development Implementation and Communication Cabinet Committee, will come up with a plan to cushion livestock keepers. The state will buy livestock from people in drought-stricken areas so that they won't incur losses when the animals die. It's interesting that they do this, but people need water today. We're talking about people need to drink water.
Yes.
If they had a place to get it, that would be different. Rivers and lakes have dried up, essentially. So they're not able to actually get this precious commodity. So it would be interesting to see how they're going to be able to mitigate against that. Schools have closed because there's no water.
We are talking about the government will do something. The government will provide water. The government will buy.
To plan how they will do this. Okay, tomorrow, not today. Where it's an urgent issue today. And when we're looking at schools having closed because there's no water, remember, we're not just talking about drinking water, that which you consume, but in terms of the running of things, for cooking, for washing, for drinking, for bathing. There's nothing. So they close because obviously they're not able to operate. That's just one example of things that we're looking at, right? And if schools are going through this, what are homes going through where there's no water to operate?
This photo that has been published by The Nation is actually quite telling.
True.
Women fetch water at an almost dried up water pan at Boraimani in Magarini, Kilifi County. Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River and Lamu are grappling with water and food shortage. Now, if you just look at that water pan, that water is it brown?
It's filthy.
Looking towards green.
It's filthy.
Okay? Now, there's a whole issue of this is not potable water. And this is what people are fetching. This is what people are also giving their livestock. And this is what we are dealing with presently. Okay? While our leaders are talking about, one is saying, I am not a Mchawi. The other one is saying, you were ni Mchawi. The governor of Kilifi County is launching a recruitment drive for a new political party. That is what is occupying the leadership.
It's happening in his county.
And this is in his county. Okay? This is the news that's in the country. This is what we're dealing with. The Red Cross, which is not government, is the one that is UKO on the ground. Red Cross coordinator for the coast region, Hassan Musa, is the one who's talking about the number of people who are in dire need of water, food in the country, in those counties. 130,000 people in dire need of food and water in Kwale. 78,000 people in Tana River. 21,000 people in Lamu. Up to 50% of households in Lamu lack food, with Lamu East being worst hit. Lamu received 83 millimeters of rainfall this year, way below the long-term average of 284 millimeters. In Tana River, Asa, Wayu, Titila, Idi and Odoganga primary schools have been closed because of this. And here we are.
God have mercy. I'm not able to reconcile the two. I can't. There's no middle ground where you will say it's okay for us to talk and to immerse ourselves in this drama.
Yeah.
There is no middle ground for me, whereby people are on the brink of starvation that will then lead to death. Because we're not talking about starvation, maybe you'll get sick. Starvation, you can go 4 days without water, you can go 3 weeks without food, right? So just looking at physiological makeup. In this same country, within the same boundaries, is where these different conversations and these different realities are happening.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me that people will be on the brink of death. And we're talking about in the same county. Let's not even come back to national government or come back to Nairobi where all these other rallies or whatever are happening. In the same county.
In the same county.
The county boss is recruiting for a political party.
Yep.
What does that tell you about how your leaders feel about you as Kenyans? If you can extrapolate, this is how one in one county is behaving. Extrapolate that to the rest of the country. You must ask the question. We need to open our eyes.
Listen to what the head teacher of a school called ASA is saying. Harrison Moringa says, everywhere is dry. We can go for even 3 months without water before the county government's water bowser responds, and it's always one truck for the school and the residents to share. 3 months, they receive water bowser once from the county. It brings water once for everybody in that community. School, everybody, the residents, 3 months. Deputy Head Teacher Cecilia Gillo said despite having food supplies from the government, there's no water to cook the food because the water pans they depended on dried up. And this is in Tana River. The long and tedious trips in search of water leave both teachers and pupils fatigued. Now, can you imagine you're a teacher, you're waking up, nothing, you have no water, and the Teacher Service Commission expects you to go to work because that's your employer.
This is an alternate reality. It cannot be that it's the same with the boundaries of the same country. It can't be. I can't. It can't be that it's.
These people are going to sit an exam. These pupils are going to sit an exam at the end of this year. And they're expected to perform as well as pupils
Everybody
from other
else.
parts of the country.
You're putting them on the same level.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When you see Kilifi County not producing a single A in the last KCSE exams.
Can you see why?
Not a single A. An entire Kilifi County. Look at this.
Schools are closed indefinitely because this is an indefinite situation. Schools are closed indefinitely. Go home. There's no teaching, learning going on. Then you come back and then you've maybe lost 3 weeks out of the curriculum or out of the syllabus. And then you say compete on that same level. Same government is giving you the level upon which to compete. Same government is giving you this level upon which now you must now show how much you have learned. Same government is not providing a conducive environment within which this learning can take place. This is the reality that we are operating within today. Not this nonsense of who didn't let whom in a church.
Which also now comes to our colleagues in the newsrooms. Okay? These are the headlines. Shame of Uhuru Ruto men in church fight. Okay? A split like in cabinet like no other. And then a small headline up there just to tell you that on page 9, which is where the Kenyan stories are, you go page 8, 9, 10, 400,000 people are facing starvation in the coast, Meanwhile, some people could die, but, well, yeah, that's nature, isn't it? People die. 6:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. Keep it right here for more of these. We're looking at the newspaper headlines now. And then at 8 o'clock, we'll have a guest on the show today. And this is Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 1 hash to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. All right,
you're listening to
Spice
Spice
on Jogger Road, heading out into the city. Again, right around the Makadara train station, and then heading out towards Botella. And then it's gonna, be easy a little bit as you get onto Jogger Road, getting towards the stadium. But then today, Landis Road going towards Kamkunji is already building up quite some. We're already looking at traffic within the city, quite heavy this morning. Coming coming out of Ngong Road, not too bad. Coming off Langata Road, however, that has already built up quite significantly this morning. Industrial area doesn't look too bad right now. Thika Superhighway also. Pangani at the junction joining Kiambu Road then to Muthaiga Square. That also has built up quite some. The underpass at Pangani also is building up quite heavily right now. Limuru Road also looking pretty slow. It's Monday morning and we expect all this to clog up in a short bit. It's still just 6:30 though, and traffic has already done its thing. Let's take a look at what it looks like in about half an hour or so when most people will be out and traffic hour has begun officially. If you're stuck somewhere, let us know. The bypass is looking pretty good this morning. We'll take a look at what's happening outside of the city also in a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right, 27
94.4
minutes to 7 o'clock. Kenya Water Towers Agency Board on the spot over illegal meetings. Remember the other day we were talking about the same kind of meetings being held by the board of Kenya Power.
Right.
Now, there's an agency. Do you know about this? The Kenya Water Towers Agency.
I did not know such a thing.
There's a Kenya Water Towers Agency. The board met in what Auditor General Nancy Gathongo calls illegal meetings. Board members met 78 times in the financial year 2018-2019. 78 times only. And they were irregularly paid 31.4 million shillings in sitting allowances. As a result, the propriety of the expenditure could not be confirmed, according to Ms. Gathongo, in the report tabled in the National Assembly last week. The State Corporations Act caps at 4 the number of meetings that board members can hold in a financial year, which are supposed to be spread quarterly, with a small window for ad hoc meetings where there is need. Head of Public Service Joseph Kenyua last March issued directives through a memo to ministries whose aim was to reduce spending by state agencies. The memo obligates board members to abandon fuel guzzlers when on official business or pay for the fuel if they have to use them. They were also ordered to settle for cars with lower engine capacities, which have now been capped at 1800 cc's. They are also mandated to hold meetings in facilities at the parastatal offices, away from the upscale hotels that they are used to, while the number of meetings taking place out of town was also limited. All those things happened, but in the financial report on the Kenya Water Towers Agency, the Auditor General states that the board is also in breach of the law as it does not have an annual work plan as required by under the Mwongozo's Code of Governance. The report further faults the management for breaching the law by failing to operationalize the Water Towers Conservation Fund. The fund was established in 2010 to collect money for the restoration, conservation and sustainable management of the water towers in Kenya. They opened a capital account for the fund at the central bank with 50 million shillings deposit, which was intended to finance initial activities to the fund. However, Kwisha, 31 million shillings in just sitting allowances for board members in a year.
So were they sitting
78
with an agenda? 78 meetings.
Can you imagine?
Were they sitting with an agenda? But then you have to ask yourself, let's meet so we can earn.
That's it. We haven't met in a while, eh? Shall we meet next week?
Feeling a little light in the pocket. So how about we have a board meeting?
Can we meet next week? Yeah. Then something else. Can we then now see if we can meet?
Let's meet next week also. The week after that.
What we can do is we can do HR committee can meet.
You know what that is? That's like, it's more than 4 meetings. If you want to look at it, it's more than 4 meetings a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more than 4 meetings a month.
Yes.
More than 5. Going on 6. Good grief. I would see why Nancy Gathongo would ask questions.
6. That means in a week they're meeting more than twice.
In a week more than twice.
Yeah.
And they don't. Nancy Gathongo's been busy.
Very.
She's also waded into this row over the World Bank funds to improve schools. Remember, the World Bank said, hold on a minute, this is what we agreed, this is where the money was supposed to go. And then we hear that government, or rather from Treasury, has put a hold on these development projects. The question is then why? So now she has said that she's not understanding what's going on either. She's waded into the Ministry of Education's move to block the release of funds in a 22.8 billion shilling World Bank funded project aimed at improving infrastructure and quality of learning in secondary schools. Her office has asked Education Principal Secretary Julius Dwan to provide documents and information regarding several tenders for infrastructure development, as it emerges that companies picked for construction are yet to be handed their contracts. The Education Ministry froze release of funds for the Secondary Education Improvement Project, which is called the SECIP, in January, just weeks after completing several tender proceedings for the construction of classrooms, dormitories, laboratories, toilets, and other infrastructure in thousands of schools across the country. The tender evaluations were completed and companies were notified of their successful bids in December last year. But on the 26th of January this year, the President ordered the Education Ministry to halt funding for the tenders to allow for a needs analysis in all institutions. Now, she wants to probe the stalled SECIP, the Auditor General now. And there was a copy of the letter written to the PS on the 31st seeking to investigate. Kindly provide us with the details on the above subject matter as follows. Tenders evaluated by December 31st, 2020 with reasons as to why they have not been signed, costs incurred in relation to the tenders to date, reasons as to why they were internationally bidded for, what is the implication of the contracts taking too long before they are signed.
Wait, I'm not understanding this story. Let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
What did the government want to do?
So now there was an agreement between the World Bank and the government. There was this money that was then being released in order for infrastructure development across the country, schools, right?
Okay.
All right.
So this is what the government usually does, sending money to schools to develop infrastructure.
Yes, now the World Bank was giving a chunk of this money in terms of
World Bank was supporting this.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And as far as they're concerned, this project was going on without any problem. The companies had already bid, tenders had already been assigned, released, etc. as of December 31st last year.
Okay.
January this year, there was a notice from the Office of the President to stop all of these projects because they needed to know what they were calling a needs analysis. So infrastructure development based on need. We will only do it based on need. We're not just going to go ahead and do a blanket kind of thing. So since then, there's been no word on this.
So there was a halt.
There was a halt. Completely.
Halt order.
Now, World Bank steps in last week and says, hold on a minute. This thing is supposed to be going on. Why do we not see any of this development happening? You have stopped it. We want to understand why. So there was a back and forth. Now, the Auditor General also has come in and she said, hold on. Contracts were signed. All of this was done. Why are we not seeing any movement? So it would seem as if she also has come in, or rather from her office has come in to ask, also on the side of the World Bank, what on earth is going on here?
So she wants to audit the contracts, or what does she want to audit?
She wants to understand the process through which these contracts then have been awarded.
Yeah, because if you come in to say after we've signed the contract, no, let's do a need analysis. That should have been stage one.
Exactly, that should have been the first thing that you've done.
Stage one, need analysis, and then say this is what we require, and then with that advertise for the tenders. So the tenders are responding to a need.
Yes. So you should have already done the analysis of this need before. So now you're saying, stop everything, let's do a need analysis, and you're asking the questions, why? Why now? She smells a rat. Using all those many words to say, she smells a rat here.
Well, let her investigate, but also if indeed there is, cancellation of contracts, which would cost the government again, because you'll be taken to court. We signed a contract.
And we were ready to go.
And we're already mobilized, and you're supposed to be giving us more money to continue with this. That is where again we have issues, because you'll be taken to court, you'll be charged, and you'll be forced to pay for work not done. We've talked about this many times, where corruption is actually at that point of contracting. Sign a contract knowing full well that you're going to withdraw, and then you'll pay, and
you know you're going to receive some money for it.
You'll receive money for it. Move on.
Or even give the contract knowing that these folks are not going to do the job. You know. So you know you're going to get a cut from this money that will be paid in the event that the contract is not honored.
That's the whole point.
That's it.
Kakamega is in the news again. Remember they had imported some machine for production of oxygen. And then they were asking the National Treasury to waiver the taxes required for it. Anyway, I don't know what happened there. But the new medical oxygen producing equipment imported in June for the Kakamega County General Hospital is yet to be assembled after the contractor downed tools over 576 million shillings debt. The equipment had been stuck at the port of Mombasa because of a tax row, but was released last month after the importer paid 8 million shillings to the Kenya Revenue Authority. Total Hospital Solutions, the subcontractor who imported the oxygen plant, said it could only work under the main contractor and after a power substation is built at the site. You cannot connect the plant to an existing transformer, which is why we must have a substation for that machine so that nothing interrupts the production of oxygen, explained Bernard Karoro of this organization. Health Executive Collins Kizito told the nation that the contractor, China Railway Jiangsu Engineering East Africa, which is building the 6.2 billion shillings hospital, downed tools in February over a dispute around accrued interest and price fluctuations. A county official who did not want to be named said the contractor has raised interim payments for all the work done to 1.9 billion shillings, whereas the county had allocated only 510 million shillings in this financial year's budget for completion of the first phase of the facility. Phase 1 of the 750-bed hospital will cost Kakamega 2.5 billion shillings. Now, here is the issue. Kakamega is building a swanky brand new hospital with 750 beds. They have this China Railway Jiangsu Engineering East Africa as the main contractor for the hospital. Under that, there is Total Hospital Solutions, which has been contracted to install an oxygen plant. Now, main contractor has downed tools since February. Total Hospital has paid 8 million shillings tax. They have brought in the machine, but they say, for us to install this machine, we need proper power supply. Proper power supply is an entire substation by itself. We cannot connect this machine to the existing power. It will blow, it will not work. Put up. So, hospital not being constructed, oxygen not being produced. Kakamega, looking at, they had only allocated 500 million shillings for this in this financial year for phase 1, and the contractor has put up a bill of 1.9 billion. That is about 3 times, close to 4 times what you've budgeted.
So even when you have a solution that's going to at least try to solve, because this plant was not just going to serve Kakamega, but then would have served, neighboring counties. So even when you have a solution that's supposed to solve, then you come and then there's this bottleneck that you can't get past. Because? Because?
Because.
That's because.
Yeah. The because is enough. Any other because that you're looking for is your problem.
Jesus.
Let's take a break. It's 7:15. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. As we do that, actually, there's an announcement here that the Kenyatta National Hospital and the Mbagathi Hospital in Nairobi will be the first to administer the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, as healthcare staff set to administer the jab across the country got training, according to the Health Ministry. Okay. Dr. Andrew Mulo, the Director for Medical Services in charge of preventive and promotive health, yesterday said most of the J&J doses will be shipped to rural areas. The reason why we have started with KNH and Mbagathi is because of training and capacity. Those already trained to administer J&J are predominantly in these facilities, and so we must prepare the other health workers on administering the jab and storage, among other things, first before we dispatch across the country. So they waited for the jabs to arrive so then they can start doing the training.
This is what we're waiting for to hear.
Nothing.
So today you can go. Is it the first time?
Why did you have to wait for the jabs to arrive to do the training? So that people can see.
So we can see this is the actual jab. Then this is what we must do.
We're talking about people who are trained as healthcare workers, right?
Who know how to administer a jab. It would not be their first inoculation process that they're going through.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Singishi was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
More headlines.
So, shocker is what is being called HELB, the thing that is actually supposed to help quite a number of students who are making the transition from high school to university, or even then be able to finish their university education, is unfortunately a loan facility. And HELB is, set up to sort this out. But, shocker, hundreds of thousands of 2020 Form 4 leavers are staring at a bumpy ride to college and university, starting this morning, today, without funding from the Higher Education Loans Board. So there's a set of students who are actually starting, their university education today. Schools open for that. A total of 128,073 students were placed in universities and 193,949 in colleges 3 weeks ago, right? And the majority are still applying for HELB funding. HELB CEO Charles Ringera said the earliest first-year students can expect the funds in their accounts is early October. But they're going to school when? Today. Now, the question is, will universities accept them knowing that the money that they were expecting to pay for will only come in October? Okay?
So what's supposed to happen in between?
So, that's the question. That's the shocker. Because you've applied, they've told you, yes, we will, but we don't have money. You will get it in October, but I'm supposed to report to my college or my university today. We don't know how many students will apply, so we won't start processing the money now. This is what he said. That can end up leaving out orphans and other deserving cases. Money for continuing students has already been sent to their accounts. So the issue that we're dealing with here is the first-time students. The first-time applicants have until the end of December to apply for loans, while second and subsequent applicants have until the end of October. The delayed funding for first-year students means their families, many already reeling under tough economic conditions wrought by COVID-19, will struggle to raise the required tuition fees and upkeep. So, if you're not getting money until October, no way the university is saying, okay, HELB has not given you money. Come. We'll sort you out for the next 1 month. Then when they do, we'll figure it out. No, that's not happening. Personal effects will further eat into family budgets, as will the purchase of electronic devices like laptops, which have become mandatory to support virtual learning. HELB gives loans to students studying in public and private universities, as well as those in technical and vocational education and training institutions. In addition to the loans, the board also supports needy cases through bursaries. However, students in the past have protested delays in disbursement of funds. 38,000 shillings is the maximum amount of money that HELB has said each eligible university student will get in loans, down from the previous 45,000, and that 45,000 in many cases for many a student was not enough. In March, there were reports that some university students were starving after HELB delayed disbursements, which was something that we heard as well. At Moore University, for example, learners staged protests over the delays as they demanded cash to buy food, books, airtime, laptops, smartphones, and to photocopy their classwork. All university students are staring at a reduced funding after the board capped the loans from at 38,000 shillings from the original 45,000 shillings, as it seeks to cover more learners.
There are a couple of things here. So, number one, the government has reduced the amount of money that it's putting into HELB.
Yes.
Number two, because of the effect of COVID-19, those who are even repaying HELB have reduced. So HELB is not even recovering as much money as it had planned to recover.
No.
Number three, we have more students joining university this year as opposed to previous years. Now, all those things, a perfect storm.
Brewing
Here it is. Now, students who are going then to university,
today,
what do we expect? What is the expectation? That they are going to bridge the 10,000 shillings gap themselves?
There's no explanation in terms of what's supposed to happen. that where you're supposed to get the exit. You figure it out. Look, we've given you this, and you've applied. We've been able to give you this. It's either that or we give it to somebody else. So you get into a situation where people are going to have to take what is offered to them or get nothing.
So many more people are going to drop out of university because of this, because they can't really afford it.
Even today, many people will not turn up for their matric because they don't have the money, because they were relying on help to at least start off the process and then see what they can do. But that money won't. So there are many things here, Eric. One, is not enough. Two, it's not going to come on time. And three, the other, things that you have to pay for that you don't have the money to do. So will you say, okay, let me just start and see what happens if you can snowball something later, or not go at all?
Aye.
So for people who applied for help are supposed to enter into school today, you don't have the money. The earliest you will get it is October. So many people will have to make the unfortunate decision to not go or to defer their admission because they don't have the money to attend.
Crazy.
It's madness.
So in 6 months' time, the stadium at Cameroon will be complete.
For real?
In 6 months' time, the stadium at Cabernet will be complete. There's a man called Joseph Malatit. Joseph Malatit began walking from Baringo County to Nairobi on August 26th. He has covered over 300 kilometers by yesterday morning. He is expected to arrive in Nairobi today. He is walking to State House to seek audience with the president and tell him, Mzee, please, there's a stadium in Cabernet. Please finish. Please. The former chief told the Standard that he hopes President Uhuru Kenyatta will receive him at State House. He expects to cover 10 kilometers today. I don't have an appointment, but I believe the president will receive me. All I need is to present my request to him. It's not clear how much money he intends to raise for the construction of Cabernet Stadium, but what is evident is his dream of seeing young people in the county have a place to nurture their sporting talent. He also says he expects to meet the Safaricom Chief Executive Officer and see if the company can support the initiative. He spent the better part of yesterday in Kangemi, where he spoke of how his journey has been challenging due to the changing weather patterns. Baringo is quite sunny. When I arrived in Limuru,
I froze. Shocked.
He carried 3 pairs of shoes. 2 were worn out by the time he arrived in Nakuru.
This stadium, Cabernet.
Yes.
Was it on the list of the ones that was?
Who knows, man? But Cabernet is a very big area. It's a headquarters of Baringo County.
Yeah, it should be one of the ones on the list. This kind of thing is very sad. Somebody's 26th of August. Today is what? 6th of September.
Yes.
Poor fellow's been walking for a while.
10 days. 10 days he's been walking. He hopes to meet the president and tell him, Mr. President,
just
please.
finish the thing.
Please, I'd like us to work on a stadium, Cabernet Stadium, so people can benefit from it.
Can I tell you something that's happening in the United States?
Yep.
So, there was some uproar over the last couple of days in terms of what people can or cannot do with the unborn child that comes as a result of sexual violence, in this case, rape.
Okay.
The phrase bounty hunter conjures images of wanted posters of gunslinging cowboys hunting fugitives in the Wild West. But the controversial profession is very much alive in modern-day America. The industry, almost unique to the US, came under a renewed spotlight this week as the Supreme Court refused to block a Texas law giving ordinary citizens the green light to sue anyone helping women access abortions. Activists and politicians from street-level campaigns in the White House have voiced alarm at the High Court's break with 50 years of precedent in protecting nationwide access to abortion. So you can no longer procure on somebody's, basically, they say that when you perform an abortion, you're procuring on somebody's behalf, right? In effect, Texas has deputized the state citizens as bounty hunters, offering them cash prizes for civilly prosecuting their neighbors' medical procedures. So you can basically go now and say, I know such and such a person has procured an abortion. They can actually be prosecuted, and you're offered money for that. The vast majority of bounty hunters make their living by rounding up fugitives who have skipped town in return for a share of the bail. They argue that they provide a public service at no public expense. Activists who fear the reform would metastasize saw the writing on the wall when the Texas Right of Life campaign, which has uplines for people to anonymously report violators, said it hoped to replicate our success across the nations. Whew. The Texas abortion law has reignited debate on a job that can unleash freelance law enforcement personnel whose methods are often protected from local oversight. People gathered in very many rallies over the weekend throughout the country after the law went into effect. The law ends access to abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy and would allow anyone to sue abortion providers and aiders and abettors in civil court.
This is in Texas.
Yes, this is in Texas.
So basically, it's a right to life conversation here.
Yes.
It's by one side that's really dominant here.
Yes.
6 months, that is life.
6 weeks.
6 weeks,
Yes.
that is life.
Yes.
I saw somebody asking, so if it's 6 weeks, that's life. So does child support begin at that point?
Valid question. Valid question.
That's a controversial one, isn't it?
It's a big one because they're also asking, this is also a state where you have sexual violence actually on the rise. And so they're saying that somebody then who is pregnant as a result of rape, you're basically saying that she cannot procure or cannot procure an abortion on her behalf. Whereas previously they could. Now you're going to have to stay with that pregnancy and somebody can actually, you could be prosecuted and somebody can actually report you if you went to try and get an abortion.
So there are two things. There's a 6 months one, and there's the issue of...
There's the 6 weeks one.
The 6 weeks one,
and
yes.
And then there's the issue of somebody reporting you. Bounty hunters now essentially being paid by the state to report such cases.
Hey.
It's thick stuff going on here. And so now this other faction has really risen up and said, so what happens? So they've lists and lists of people who've been abused by their parents, people who've been abused by family members and then wound up pregnant, people who've been raped. What happens to them is the question now that they're asking. What kind of law is this? They're saying it has taken them back hundreds of years in terms of civility.
Okay, I'd like to know how many people support this and how many are against it. Because I can see it being split down the middle.
Sure.
Almost. There's right to life and right to choice.
The pro-life, pro-choice debate has always been split down the middle. So this is just another one for them to
This is a new battleground. And obviously the governor, who is on one side is fiercely Republican and therefore pro-life, will have, wow. Keep it right here for more conversations. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. We look at more biting headlines of what's happening in the country in the next hour. At 8 o'clock, we have a conversation with the Kirinyaga Governor, Anne Waiguru. We can see you already have some questions coming in on social media. We'll see if we can pose all of them to her. Good morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Health CS Muthui Cargo and U.S. Ambassador to Kenya will tomorrow receive 880,000 doses of Moderna vaccines from the U.S. government. The consignment is expected to arrive at JKIA at 7 a.m. This comes as Kenyatta National Hospital and Mbagathi Hospital will be the first to administer the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, which arrived in the country on Friday last week. Health CS Masi Mwangangi has warned individuals against choosing vaccinations and instead asked them to take what's available.
Let me remind Kenyans that all vaccines which we are deploying are safe, they are equally effective, and that we should all come forward and get vaccinated with whichever vaccine is available. And it's important we emphasize this. No vaccine is superior compared to another. All the vaccines that we have in the country now, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson, have the ability to prevent you from ending up in an ICU bed. So come forward and receive your vaccine.
More than 1,000 tutors in public and private teacher training colleges will embark on an education educators course on the competency-based curriculum from today. The training organised by the Teachers Service Commission will see the tutors trained ahead of the September semester, when new students are set to start reporting for the diploma in the primary education course and the one-year diploma upgrade program for P1 certificate teachers. TSC CEO Nancy Macharia says the training will come to an end on Friday. ODM leader Raila Odinga has told off his critics for linking him to witchcraft and supernatural powers, saying he is a staunch Christian. In response to DP William Ruto and his allies who have been referring to him as a sorcerer, Raila said he believes in God.
Ngine nasema Raila ni mtu wa shetani. Raila ni yule mtu ambaye mtu ya waganga na kadhalika. Nikauliza uganga ubaya yake nini? Si uganga ni utibabu. Waganga wanatibu watu. Lakini mimi nimesema mimi ni Mkristo, tena ni Mwangilikani. Na mimi naomba, mimi najua umuhimu ya Mungu. Maana mimi nimepita eneo zingine ambaye singeweza kupita kama ingekuwa kuna Mungu.
Speaking during a service at Hadi Pentecostal Assemblies of God in Karen, Raila also spoke of how Kenyans were struggling to get proper health care. He further told of hospitals which were holding patients for failure to pay bills.
Nchi hiyo ni pale ambaye kama mtu ni mgonjwa anapata matibabu, ana pesa au hana pesa. Wakati huu watu wetu wanateseka, watu wanakufa. Unakusaidia wamekufa, nakuta watu wamekaa pale wanafanya harambee ati ya kwenda kulipa gharama ya hospitali ndio watoe maiti waende wakazike. Saa nyingine nasikia ati maiti imeshikwa kwa hospitali kwa sababu ya gharama ya pesa. Na hiyo jamaa amekufa. Kama angekuwa jamaa amepona ni afadhali, lakini jamaa amekufa na wanakukataza wewe kutoa maiti kwenda kuzika. Shame on them.
And in business, online forex cons have turned to social media with fake regulatory endorsements to lure unsuspecting Kenyans into sending them money on pretext of helping them invest. The Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts, which is mandated by law to regulate the investment and finance profession in Kenya, says it has been alerted that some companies are using forged certificates to claim the professional body and has been approved. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Yes, we're seeing traffic already on the Thika Superhighway all the way beyond Roysambu today, moving very, very slowly into the city. We're also looking at traffic going into the CBD, building up quite some, and it's coming from Landys Road. It's coming from Gong Road, coming from Westlands, coming from the Thika Superhighway, as well as Langata Road and Mombasa Road. All roads converge in the city this morning. We're looking at some heavy traffic on Murang'a Road heading towards the roundabout, or rather the Globe Cinema overpass. That doesn't look too pretty right now. Also quite a lot of traffic right around the Wilson Airport off Langata Road. Going down the further Langata Road towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, Uhuru Highway then in and outbound all the way through to Westlands and back. Quite some traffic this morning. Mombasa Road is building up from Sabaki through to the SGR. Very slow movement this morning. Also coming out of Westlands, same story. Limuru Road jam-packed. Let's look out into Mombasa for just a quick minute. *712#. That's how you can pay your ferry toll this morning. And there are 3 ferries up for use service this morning, according to KFS. So use those. They help. The bypasses in Nairobi looking good. Southern, Eastern, Northern, and the Red Hill Link Road will help you out this morning. Talk to us, guys. Are you stuck somewhere? Have you found a good route out of this Monday morning traffic? Let us know. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up.
It's
not
6
down.
minutes after 7. A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation on this 6th day of September 2021. We are on to the second hour. In the room this morning is Eric Latif and Nduoko. Our colleague Siti Muga is away for the week, coming back next week. Today's proverb is a Maasai proverb. You know where you come from, but you do not know where you're going to. You know where you've come from, but you don't know where you're headed. That's basically the proverb. It's a Maasai proverb. You know where you're coming from? You don't know.
So you're just going.
Just go. You don't know where you'll end up. You don't know the future. You do not know your future. You know your past. You do not know your future. Makes sense, does it?
Yes, no, it does.
Yeah? Okay.
It does. It makes sense.
Okay. It seems people really have many questions for Anwai Guru, who will be speaking to in the next hour.
It would appear.
A number of questions coming in on social media. She will be joining us from 8 to 9 in Kenya's biggest conversation at the Situation Room. So, the big news of the weekend, what would you think it was? Was it that the Deputy President was hosting some leaders from Mount Kenya, and 11 of them, members of Parliament and other community leaders, released a statement and said, we stand strongly and firmly behind our Deputy President and we are going to campaign for him wholeheartedly? Or is it that Raila Odinga was also seeking to the presidency and he has also said, you know what, I am the leader that this country needs at this point? Or is it Amason Jaffa Kingi who has launched a party for the coast and said, this is the voice of the coastal region, and he has started mobilizing? Is that the big news of the weekend?
That's what you would think it was.
However, you know, if you want to know where the big news of what is affecting people, just go to the papers and start from page 8 onwards. Page 14 of the Nation today, locals flee besieged village as bandits burn down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to count until 50 houses burned in one day by a marauding gang armed to the teeth and attacking villages. And this is a village called Kisindogo, which is in Olmoran in Laikipia County. Okay? It's not the first time that this Olmoran area is being attacked. The number of attacks have actually been on the increase. Such a case has brought the National Security Advisory Council to meet and discuss only security in Laikipia. Okay? So they had a virtual meeting. The National Security Advisory Council had a virtual meeting over the weekend, and they were reviewing the situation 2 days after Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembea led top security officials from the Rift Valley region in meeting with locals at Olmoran Township. Natembea, speaking while addressing villagers during the Friday meeting in Olmoran, appealed to them to remain calm, saying, this government which I represent is committed to protecting you and your property. Musijali, this is the regional commissioner, let's say PC. He has come with so he obviously has come with the regional police commander. He has come with the county police commander. He's come with other leaders. He's come with DCI. He's come with intelligence people. He said, Olmoran, we know what the problem is. We've got you. The National Security Advisory Council is meeting. We have got you. What happens? You guys are just sitting somewhere.
Chewing a toothpick.
Brushing their teeth with those
sticks, yeah.
Melissa. Twende. They raided the village yesterday. They torched 50 homes. There's a photo here in the Nation. A woman wails next to her house, which bandits burned down yesterday in Olmoran, Laikipia County on Saturday night. As in just raising the middle finger and showing it to the government and telling the government, you are government.
Let's show you. Actually, we are government.
We are government.
Yeah. Because we're going to do as we please, how we please. When did we have MP Correra here? It's over a month ago now.
Yeah, it's
right?
Just last month.
Last month.
Yeah.
And she was talking about some of these issues that are happening in Laikipia North. And she said they have been happening for some months, and they've been saying, look, can we do something about it? She gave an indication that they had a political tinge, to them, and been saying, look, can we do something about this? This needs to be addressed. It has gotten worse and worse. Every 2-3 days, we've been seeing reports about what's been happening in Laikipia. And now we are seeing that 50 families have been affected. That has been reported here. It could be more. It could be that there are worse things having happened to these people. And that this county is in Kenya. This is not Laikipia of Uganda. It's not Laikipia of Rwanda. This is happening in Kenya. This county is in Kenya. The people whose houses are being burnt down, the people who are losing their lives are Kenyan citizens who must enjoy the protections of government.
Yep.
And they're not.
Yep.
Because the leadership doesn't feel that they're important. I'm going to be as bold enough to say it. Because if you feel as though they're important, if you feel as if protection then is their right because they're citizens, then we would see you doing something about it. But by virtue of the fact that nothing's happened, that you come and talk, and the people that you actually should be guarding them from are sitting not a stone's throw away, and then they wait for you to leave, and then they do whatever they want. You don't care.
What Natembeya said, we can't allow criminals to continue terrorizing innocent residents.
But they are.
We know their motive is to evict people from this area and the government will not allow this to happen. However, Veronica Kwamboka, who was living in this area called Kisindogo, says they stormed our homes on Saturday evening and started setting our houses on fire, demanding that we leave. I only managed to take with me my children and a few clothes. Alois Tumbo, another villager, said the attackers set granaries ablaze. Over 150 families were living on the 100-acre parcel that they bought years ago through a cooperative society. Interior PS Dr. Karanja Kibicho described the killings as the breaking point of government patience as he questioned local leaders' commitment to peace efforts. He said the leaders have frustrated peace efforts and warned them of dire consequences. This script... I'm just playing rewind. 2017, around this time. Same story. Local MP at that point was arrested and brought to DCI and asked to record a statement. Same story we've seen it before. Government says this, government talks stuff. We heard from MP Sarah Korere saying, you know what, the government and the intelligence people know exactly who is funding this. The local people have no issue. The local people, we cannot say that the local Maasai community have an issue with these people who have come and bought 100 acres and started living there.
Because they're living there. Yeah.
They have lived there for a number of years. Over 10 years ago, they have been here. But we see this violence, constant violence, because of one, cattle being driven from areas of low pasture to areas with pasture, areas of no water to areas with water. And then there is now conflict. And then there's increasing intensity of the violence. Because what we see now is increased intensity. People who are more heavily armed, people who attack more brazenly, people who do not want to listen to anybody else who's talking to them. There's a political angle to this.
For sure there is.
And there's a serious, and we call it political angle, but I keep going back and saying it's a criminal angle. We use politics because we can,
You want to sanitize it by
we can sanitize it and say it's a political angle. It's a criminal enterprise. And the criminals are those who are with political connections.
For sure, because this thing is being funded. In order for them to do this, and to do so with such brazen effrontery that you can actually see there's a presence of government security in the area, you wait for them to take a walk, and then you come and do this. And it's not a one-time occurrence. It is over and over and over again. Yeah, for sure, there's criminality attached to this. But there's support. There's heavy monetary support because these arms don't come cheap. The ammunition that's being used doesn't come cheap. And then the boldness, because it's bought, if you ask me, the boldness to carry out these attacks doesn't come cheap either.
Yep.
Because you'll say to yourself, well, that's okay. These individuals are known. And we've heard that the leaders who are, the politicians or whomever it would be that is throwing their support of finances behind this thing, obviously have an agenda that they're trying to achieve. And it is known what this is. But my question is then, as bold as the perpetrators of this thing are, why don't we see as bold a move then to snuff it out? Why? If you know, it's like saying, we know who it is. You don't know, that's Eric.
It's all talk.
We know who that is.
We know
It's
who
Eric.
it
We know
is.
where he operates from. But to go and actually stop this, we just don't want to. We're just doing a dalliance with this, the possibility of stopping it all. Like you said, we just take the tape recorder, play the script, say, yes, we're here for you, we've got you, we'll sort it out.
As far as the national government officials are concerned, because security is a national government function, as far as the national government officials are concerned, all the way from the president, his deputy, their brother or estranged brother, to Dr. Matiang'i, to Dr. Kibicho, these people, this is a small job. It's not one that just flips on their radar. It just comes, okay, yeah. Ask Natembea what's happening there. And Natembea, go and talk to those people. Yeah. And tell them if they don't listen, we're going to arrest them. Move on.
And that's about the size of it.
Yes. This is it. This is the kind of attention that we should be giving as a country. This is the kind of attention we should be giving. Why would people today be sleeping outside under a tree? Begging for security, for the government to secure them. Can you imagine the impact that this one has? Impact it has on the livelihoods of these people. Children are no longer going to school, of course, in these areas. Hospitals cannot even open in these areas. Basically, people have stopped living because you don't know who's going to attack you today.
Yeah. You can't live securely in your home because you don't know if it'll be there tomorrow. Look at the people who are living in the vicinity of these 50 houses that were torched over the weekend. Do you think they're living with some kind of peace and, comfortability, saying, yeah, we're all right? No. People are living in fear. And can you then operate, if you're living in a position of fear every single day, that you don't know who wants to evict you tomorrow? Send a message to you so that you leave the area for them.
Leave and go.
Don't care.
Live and go. So I ask myself, really. So, do you think the government, starting with the very top, the president, is actually concerned about the welfare of the people of the country? President, deputy, Raila, who wants to be the next president, deputy who wants to be the next president, Dr. Matiang'i, who's been given the responsibility of heading the particular ministry in charge of internal security, who's also been given the responsibility of coordinating other ministers in government. Do they really care about what matters to the people? What Dr. Matiang'i did last week is he was summoned to the National Assembly to go and give drama. This is where we are deploying our security officers. This is where we are deploying our security officers. And that brings us to a story on page 8 of the Standard today, which is MPs on the spot again for causing up to witnesses. More than 3 years after the National Assembly, Speaker Justin Muthui read the Riot Act for MPs over what he termed bad behavior in committee sittings. They're at it again. This time it's worse because the MPs shout as if in a marketplace, jeering the chair of committees in the middle of probes with witnesses present and in the full glare of the media. The MPs got a dress down from the Speaker in 2018 after Dr. Matiang'i was grilled by the National Security and Administration Committee on the deportation of Miguna. This happened again last week after the case of reassignment of Deputy President William Ruto's security detail. Although the 11th Parliament had issues with committee members for allegedly being compromised, resulting in the dissolution of the Budget Committee and the Public Accounts Committee, this 12th Parliament has outdone the previous one. If we just look at what was happening last week, the MPs summoned Dr. Matiang'i to come and respond to this particular issue. It appears it was just a very well choreographed, you guys, you call me so that I can come, and unleash some dossier. And then he comes and he unleashes a dossier and he says, Mr. Chairman, I'm telling you, in fact, we are really, really working hard at making sure that we protect we have security for everybody in the country, security for the deputy president. In fact, we are going to come up with regulations on now what needs to happen. How do we secure our VVIPs? Mr. Chairman, we are going to work very hard on this. And MPs start shouting at one another, yeah. In fact, yeah. In fact.
Rubbish.
Whereas this same committee is in charge of security. Same committee of the National Assembly. And we said it last week. Instead of summoning Dr. Matiang'i to come and ask him, why are people being kicked out of their homes in Laikipia, in West Pokot, in Elgeyo Marakwet County, in Baringo? Why do we still have insecurity? Why are police officers being killed by people who are not known in these areas? What's happening? What do the committee do? They call the CS to address this particular matter. Are these guys in touch?
It's, you ask the question that, do they actually care? And I think that beyond abrogating a responsibility of what you're supposed to do as a national leader, there's also the abrogation of honor here. Completely. Because the very good over which you should be watching, the very good over which you should be legislating, the very good over which you should be oversighting has been thrown out the window. It doesn't happen anymore. If you have people in one country that are starving on one side, that are living in fear of whether they will be in a house tomorrow, whether they will have the basic needs of shelter, because look at the people whose houses were burnt. Are they going to be able to get food easily? Nope. Shelter.
The granaries are the ones that were torched. That means food.
Yeah. So
torched.
Cannot get. And we're not, see, this is the thing, that every time we often ask ourselves, what's the job of government? The job of government is not to come and put food literally in your mouth, but it's supposed to create and maintain an environment within which these things can happen. Create and maintain an environment through which you can thrive, through which you can operate, through which your children can go to school, etc., etc. That environment creation is what is supposed to happen by virtue of the government being in place. Now, any situation that topples that in any way, shape, or form is an abrogation of responsibility, in my opinion. And that you can see it happening and you choose not to do something about it because it's a choice. When you continue to see the same situation replaying over and over and over again, you cannot tell me that it is because of chance. In this case, it is choice. You choose not to do something about it. People are dying. You choose not to do something about it. Geographical patterns have formed over years. I've come into this country, and there has not been a year I've been able to see that there's a pattern that's formed geographically where people will suffer because of famine every single year. You know this. You choose not to do something about it. You choose to legislate in the other direction. You legislate for things then that will secure you as an individual rather than the people over which you're supposed to lead and govern. So then you have to ask yourself, do you care? No, take a mother and her children. If she leaves them without food and she knows where she can get the food and she knows what she can do to be able to have them fed and chooses not to do you see that is somebody who cares about those children and who's ready to leave them to just die?
Nope. Such a mother would be taken by the government to court, okay, for abrogating her responsibility. And here we are talking about a government that is basically looking at, so Dr. Matiang'i chairs that serious cabinet committee. It's called the National Development Implementation and Communications Cabinet Committee.
Yes.
That means he is the one who coordinates all the work of the other ministers. What are you working on? Okay, what's happening in the country? All right. He is in charge of the national government officers. He's in charge of administration, in charge of security. We have people who are facing hunger and starvation, lacking water, going 3 weeks, 4 weeks without water. Children who are not going to school because, we have areas that people are being kicked out because of insecurity. One night, 50 houses are torched in a village. 50 houses are torched in a village. That means more than 50 people are affected. 50 families are affected in one night in a village. Okay? Dr. Matiang'i chairs this committee. Dr. Matiang'i also is in charge of the security of the country. Dr. Matiang'i reports to the president and his deputy in the presidency. Okay? They are not addressing this issue publicly and saying this is what we're doing. They're not mobilizing. We can see that there's proper mobilization of security to deal with the particular issue. And there's proper mobilization of the DCI to investigate who's causing this, who's the real master behind the violence in Laikipia. We are not seeing people being arrested. The opposition is quiet on such matters because this is a time when the opposition should be out there reminding the government, this is a job that you need to do. The opposition is quiet. All of them are quiet. Others are in Oka. The brother is helping the brother to be quiet. Opposition leader Raila Odinga is talking about wananiita mchawi, mimi si mchawi.
Okay.
That's what he's talking about. When people are facing starvation, when people are being kicked out, when people are being killed in the country. So the question that we want to ask then, and we want you to join us in this conversation, has the national leadership, and I'm not just saying the government, has the national leadership of this country abrogated its responsibility? Because they have a responsibility and they know it.
Of course they do. And I think there's a lot of attention. I would say that maybe in some alternate reality, you would be able to give them some reprieve and say, well, attention is being focused on an election that's coming up in the next 9 months or so. And then you would say, because of that, therefore, that's why attention has shifted. But this is not the case. Whether there was an election next year, whether there was one 5 years later, we see the same kind of thing happening over and over again. The issues in Laikipia did not start 6 months ago. These have been simmering issues that have been happening for the longest time. The issue of drought, by the way, was there last year. These counties, especially if we're looking at that Wajir, Marsabit area, Turkana area, had a problem last year, whereby what happened? There was mitigation that took place. The same thing that they're saying they're going to do. This meeting that they say they're going to hold today, to then think about how they will start buying livestock. Guess what? They did it last year too. They did it the year before. They did it the year before. We take off the sick, we take off the dying cattle, and we give you money for it. But then where are we supposed to go and buy this resource? Where are we supposed to do that? So what am I saying is that you would maybe say, all right, we understand that you're really busy with the election, but these are things that have been happening even when there was an election not taking place that year or the year after. This attitude whereby you get into government and the entire axis spins, the entire thing spins on its axis, is that people forget or choose to put on the back burner or on ice what they're actually supposed to be doing. And I am going to say, please, when you are being shown, believe. When you're being shown, believe.
Believe it when you see it.
Right. When leaders are telling you that they care about you, but Kenyans in the same boundaries are dying for hunger and violence and insecurity, and somebody's in a position to do something about it and they don't. They don't have to use words to tell you whether they care for you or not. The actions, by their deeds you shall know them. By their deeds you shall know them. Are they going to act any differently if they're in a position of leadership? Every time somebody says, well, wait until we get there. Let's get into the position of
I'm not the implementer.
I'm not the implementer. I'm just in the periphery. When I get there, then I will do something about it. Please, when your leaders fail to protect you, when your leaders fail to provide, when your leaders fail to legislate and oversight in a manner in which you then, as a citizen, will be protected, they are showing you how they feel, how they care about you. Please believe them. Don't feel as though it's an alternate reality. Believe them. They're basically telling you how they feel. So it should also be able to guide the decision that you take in the future. It must.
So tell us what you think. Do you think the national leadership of this country has abrogated its responsibilities? And that's what we're asking. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. You know what? People have been kicked out of their homes in just one village in Olmoran, Laikipia. People have been facing cases of insecurity for months now in Laikipia. Okay? And then there's the issue of the 11, 12 counties now that are facing starvation, people around the country. And yet our leaders are focusing more on telling us about bottom-up, about villages, about I don't know what.
Church.
Church. That's what their concern is presently. And saying, when I get to office, I will sort you out. 7:30. Let's take this break. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
The opportunities are here. Project X, the biggest youth empowerment project in Africa for young creatives, is here. Are you a model, a fashion designer, or a performing artist? then this is the opportunity you have been waiting for. Register now for the opportunity of a lifetime by following at Opportunities Are Here on Instagram and the Opportunities Are Here on Facebook for more information and the registration link. Online selections begin on the 12th of October and registration closes on the 22nd of October. The Opportunities Are Here is a project by the Ethical Fashion Initiative in partnership with the European Union. Project X is co-produced by KTN Home and Vibes Radio.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawoko?
I can't say it very well. No, you Muthui at Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you ready? Okay.
SpiceFM.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 15 with highs of 22. We'll see lows of 13 today in the city. Light rain at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 23 and lows of 14. 20 will be the high in Nyeri. It's raining this morning at 13 and that will be the low for the day. Looking into Kisumu, it's sunny at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 17. Kakamega is raining this morning at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 14. Out into Mombasa, light rain at 24, highs of 28 and lows of 23. It's also raining in Malindi at 25. It'll go to highs of 28 and come down to lows of 24 today. Out in Kampala today, we are seeing 21 degrees and partly sunny conditions, highs of 26 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam is sunny at 23, highs of 30 and lows of 22. We're looking at rainy conditions at 24 in Lagos, highs of 29 and lows of 24. And Kinshasa is clear at 23, highs of 31 and lows of 22.
Spice up your life.
Airport North Road, Mombasa Road, going towards Outer Ring, absolute jam-packed this morning, moving very, very slowly. Industrial area, however, it doesn't look too bad today. Lunga Lunga, and then going round Enterprise. If you're going on Mombasa Road today and you've come in from Jogo Road, you can use that option to get out onto Mombasa Road as opposed to then going towards Bunyala. There's your traffic tip for the day. Getting onto Mombasa Road, go via industrial area. Thank me later. Langata Road doesn't look so bad right now, especially that area as you join Lusaka at the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. But further on Langata Road, around the Wilson Airport, that's an absolute mess. Jogo Road today also quite hot and heavy all the way from Hamza out towards the City Stadium roundabout. In the middle of the CBD is a mishmash of traffic. Take your pick. Wherever it is that you're looking this morning, it's quite packed. Coming out of Westlands as well, that is a thing. Limuru Road from the village market all the way to Ngara is moving very slowly this morning. We have traffic all the way from Roy Sambu on the Thika Superhighway out towards the city. So it's that Monday. Everybody's out on the roads getting business done here and there, and there's a lot of traffic. Let's see how we can traverse without too much of an issue. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch with us. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
To 8 o'clock, Kenya's biggest conversation continues. In the Situation Room with you this morning is Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. CT Muga has taken a week off. So, what's happened over the weekend? Over the weekend, we've seen Olmoran in Laikipia County being attacked by armed raiders, and a village, just one small settlement scheme called Kisindogo Village, where 50 houses were torched and people were evicted, forcibly evicted by armed people. And this is just a day after the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembea was there, just the same day as the National Security Advisory Council met to discuss insecurity in Laikipia. What's happening around other parts of the country? Other parts of the country, just count 12 counties of coasts and the northern frontier. What's happening is that people are facing starvation. There's a story today in the papers about places like in Kwale, where the Red Cross is basically raising alarm. In Kwale, in Kilifi, in Lamu, in Taita Taveta, in Tana River as well. And they're talking about people who have gone for months without a drop of water. People who have gone for months without food. Our national leadership, over the same weekend, was discussing politics. That's all they're concerned about. And so we are asking you this morning, do you think our national leadership has abrogated the responsibility? Let's go to the phone line, 0719 012 600. Jimmy in Malindi, good morning.
Good morning too. How are you?
Very well, thanks. It's been a while, Jimmy. Are you well?
I'm well.
Very good.
Yeah, I listen, but on this issue is very sensitive.
Yes.
So what I can say is this. You know, the problem, let me talk about security in Laikipia.
Yes.
You see, when you look at the campaigns in 2017,
yep,
and you hear Matiang, clearly, you go to YouTube and you'll see it there. This is not your opinion. It's my opinion from the video, and from I had him myself in the screen saying that, claiming he is the leader of the Nchinkororo, and saying, if anybody tries to stop you from voting, I'm the head of security. I will tell the security to look away, and the man, the person that is denying you to make a vote, hold him and you slap him. Am I not the one who was with you beating these people here at the border? Because I don't know which border which they were fighting, but he was claiming that he was the one who was in. He was their leader. So he was giving them confidence that they should not fear.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at credibility of a leader, you cannot take a leader of Mungiki or any other kind of group that is, this time let's talk.
Mm.
And we are going to talk regardless of whatsoever, as long as we have the evidences. And it is the truth. Because we have been trying to talk a lot here in the community, and these are the kind of questions people ask us, and they tell us, you're talking about this, look about Matiang'i, what he did. So, if you know that this man is ahead, and he was claiming to be the head of Nchinkoro, this kind of a person, then we should not worry so much when we find things like this happening in Laikipia. Yes.
Jimmy, can I ask you another question? I mean, if I ask you another question, Jimmy,
yes,
you are in Malindi. You're in Kilifi County, right?
We've lost Jimmy. He said his credit was running out.
Right, so maybe we'll get him back.
Yeah, we'll try and get you back, Jimmy. So 0719012600. You wanted to ask him about.
He's in Malindi. He's in Kilifi County,
Yeah.
right? We see a lot of these. We see these things happening right in Kilifi County. It doesn't mean that you're walking in the street and you see it today, but you are aware of this happening in your environment. And then we're also seeing that Governor Kingi of the county is, spearheading this drive over the weekend. What are the cries? What is the outcry to say in this area where we are right now? What is the demand of a leader? What is the demand of a leader through the county assembly, for example?
Yeah.
The MCAs who are on the ground. Here, if anything, provides a perfect opportunity to speak out. But why don't we see this? Why don't we hear it?
Why aren't we seeing more activity
Absolutely.
from the leadership?
Why? I'd be curious to know.
It's like the country is basically just being told, well, focus on this and don't mind about these other things.
Or don't even think about it.
Let's think about it. 2022 is coming, and we need to elect new leaders, and we need to elect sharp, tough leaders. Our politicians have gotten to a point where they have assumed that they are the most important in this country. That anything that touches on politics and their lives is what should be number one priority for the country, and everything else is not. When you see a photo that's published and it's showing women carrying jerrycans of water, and they have to walk many kilometers to their homes, and the water pond that they've just come out of is brown, turning green. That's the only water that is available to people in a village. That is the only source of water for them, their children, their livestock. And that is it. But the conversation that the politicians would like us to have is 2022 is coming. You better be in UDA, or you align yourself with OKA, or if you're not with OKA, go to ODM. If you're not with ODM,
can I paint a grimmer picture for you?
Yeah.
You see these same women who are carrying these water troughs and they're trying to get this brown water are the same people that will be approached in the run-up to an election with 50 shillings.
Yes.
The same people who are being abandoned today, whose future is in that water, whose future means disease, whose future means access to poor nutrition, they are the ones who will be approached tomorrow by the same politicians to come and ask for their vote. Meanwhile, their livelihoods have not been secured. Irony of the highest order.
In fact, as the campaigns hot up, what you will see is bowsers of water. Okay? People will come there with bowsers of water. People will come there with pickups with foodstuff to give the people. So I want you to elect me as the next governor of Kilifi County. I've brought you water. I've brought you food. This is it. And before that, they'll have been abandoned. After this, they'll still be abandoned. And we expect that that's the conversation that's going to be running in this country, and saying that because of, the efforts of our politicians, our country is still strong. There's peace in the country.
No.
Ali in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, everybody in the situation room.
Good morning, Ali.
Morning.
You reminded me of some many years back. We're gonna walk to Washington, or we're gonna march to Washington. That black civil rights marching to Washington to get their rights and whatever. We have a lot of people in Kenya in different areas who will try to make a difference. And then the master asked them, why these people are doing so? Stop them. And they say, no, we can't stop them because we didn't start it. But what they told them is that you join them because you can't beat them when you are out.
Yeah.
So every person who is ready to offer us 50 bob so that we can give them that vote and destroy our livelihood, they become the major players after this small group of people who want to change. Instead of personalities and whatever, they want issues-based politicians. They join us and they create a small anxiety about us and amazement, and we ended up giving them our leadership for the change.
But when does it stop?
At the end of the day, the 50 bob works, and we lose the fight to change ourselves.
But Abdi, my question, does the 50 bob work? It could work, it could work temporarily, but does it work as a permanent solution? Does it work?
It doesn't work with a permanent solution, do Titi and Eric. What it does work is that it goes into the minds of those people who want to change Kenya. Because they are very, very meager in resources, and they forget that they are there to change, not to get the resources. At the end of the day, it is everybody's tummy that needs to be filled. And they create a division within amongst ourselves. They come to you, tell ABCD, they go to Ndulu, they say ABCD, they go to Eric, the same thing. So you see, the city, this is how they divide us when we want to do something better. They even create a platform of to choose who is a better leader in MCA, in Parliament, in woman rep, in Senate, and whatever it is. But at the end of the day, they wanted to get to these people, leaders that you want, and they go and change their situation
Ali,
so that you cannot elect them.
So with just a simple answer, our question today is, do you think our national leaders have abrogated their responsibility?
They don't have. I will tell you just a simple example. We elect leaders, talk of a parliament, on political party basis. But that parliament has never been named Jubilee or ODM or NASA or whatever you call it. It is being called a national parliament. Unfortunately, after the election, these people, when they go there, they forgot their nationality. Their nationality become Jubilee, become ODM, become UDA, become whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yet if they put in their mind that they are nationalists, and that is a national assembly, then they will work for the people. Why they will work for the people? They will remember that the nationalists, that is me and you and everybody in Kenya, pays for their salary, is when they return that parliament to be a national parliament. But it is only by name.
Okay.
It has a parliament for the party that wins the election. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali. Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, Anthony, good morning.
Morning. What I would want to say is this,
Yes.
is that our leaders take advantage. For example, in the case about Kilifi and water business, what they will tell you is that, the national government is the one responsible of piping and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. So, for us, that is not our responsibility. And you wonder, why do we have boreholes? Boreholes are not national government issues. The county can take responsibilities and dig a few boreholes.
That's true.
Yes, and unfortunately you find that it is the private business that are located in those areas that decide, by the way, right now, let us just have a few boreholes so that we can help the locals that are around our area. So you find that even when you look at Mombasa, for example, Bangla, it is Mombasa cement that gives out water boozers for free, and it has been happening for years. And the county government is there.
Yeah.
So the day Mombasa County decides we are not bringing in Bowsers, there are chaos in Bangla. So whose responsibility is that? And a county like Mombasa, there are pipe works.
Yeah.
So you wonder what is happening. Our leaders take advantage in these loopholes. There are some things they don't do.
Yeah.
They throw blame. This is the national government. This is the governor. The MCA, the MP says this is the county. This is the So I think it's high time we define the roles. It is there, yes, in the Constitution, but people don't know, honestly.
But you see, I think even as we define the roles, which I think the leaders already know because they were looking for those positions,
yes.
It is the local county assembly, for example, of Kilifi, of Tana River, of Kwale, should cease all other discussions and debates. And in fact, even if they are on recess, ask the speaker to reconvene them so that they can discuss the issue of the people facing starvation. The conversation should be happening. The only business right now of Kilifi County, of these counties, should be first and foremost, how are our people sleeping tonight? Are they eating? Are they drinking?
That's it.
That's it. Go to the county government. If it requires the county government to rededicate some of the budget so that you can feed your people, do so. Going back to say, it's a national government, raise pressure on the national government, having first of all taken care of the day.
You were spot on when you said, when it comes to election, you'll see water boozers, you'll see people donating food, because it is a cycle.
Yep.
They know this area has a water problem, so there'll be starvation. But they'll not do anything because they'll have to use it as a pawn in the next election. So if, for example, Kilifi has water and there's enough food, what do you think the politicians will have to tell the common wananchi? They have nothing to say.
They have no conversation.
Yes.
It is a very sad. It's a very sorry state of affairs.
Yes. That's why I say that is why we need to inform the voters. This is not a favor. This is your right.
Yeah.
You need water. You need food. It is your right. So let us not play games. Whoever comes telling you that I'm going to put boreholes, I'm going to bring irrigation, that's a lie.
That's very true. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Okay, thank you.
Have a lovely day. 0719-012-600. Are our national leaders abrogating their responsibility when they focus? A lot of them are just focusing on the politics of the day. The Deputy President was hosting Mount Kenya leaders over the weekend, and in the journey from Mount Kenya coming back towards Nairobi, he was stopping and addressing people and just saying, I'm ready to be the next president. ODM leader, for example, Raila Odinga, was in church in Karen yesterday, where he was talking about housing, affordable housing, healthcare, and education. Those will be his priorities. Musalia Mudavadi, Amani National Congress Party leader, has warned Kenyans not to fall into the trap of political power brokers who are peddling rumors that Huduma number cards will be used during the next general election. He was in Mirangine Catholic Church in Dondori, Nyandarua yesterday during a funds drive. He was urging leaders to preach peace and coexistence ahead of the elections. No leader has gone to, the Deputy President was in Laikipia County, where he was hosting this meeting. None of them talked about what's happening in Laikipia.
In Laikipia. Nothing. If you have a current administration or even aspirational leadership not even paying attention to the current issues that the people over whom they wish to be given a leadership position are going through, you have a major problem. If there's a red flag that has ever been blown in the wind, This is it.
This is it.
If you're looking for oftentimes, like Gideon and his fleece, oftentimes when you're looking for this, and because people often say, well, we don't know who to vote for because we don't know if they're going to change, we don't know if they're going to be different. Well, here is an opportunity for you to know the things you should be looking out for. When you have people who are, because we're in campaign silly season right now, you have people who are campaigning and talking up a particular agenda when you have an emergency situation in different sectors in the community today.
Yep.
Whether we're looking at livelihoods, whether we're looking at the economy, whether we're looking at security, and those issues are not being addressed. My goodness, there's so many red flags. You are spoiled for choice in terms of red flags. Take your pick. They're coming to you to essentially talk. They're coming to your churches. They're coming to your communities, and they're not addressing the issues that are affecting you today.
Yeah.
Red flag blowing in the wind. My goodness, what more could you be looking for?
You can't.
It's right there.
Ruben Kigame, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Eric. Good morning, Ndu.
Good morning,
Morning
Ruben.
to you, Ruben.
Where did you take CT Muga?
He's taken himself away.
He knows where he's going.
Yes.
Very interesting topic this morning. Very two quick comments.
Yes.
Over the weekend, I was actually in Kapenguria. And we were addressing these issues. In fact, the community there was reporting to me how there comes a time when the local bandits become more overpowering than our own security forces. And we were discussing how this issue needs to be community solved by involving the locals so that the same local people find local solutions instead of coming in and, bundling up everybody. The GSU is, busy including everybody in the solution.
Yeah.
You basically beat up everybody. So we made these comments publicly. I came in and made some very, very strong comments about community involvement and the need for government to do something about insecurity in our country. Guess what? That did not make it to the media.
What did?
Now, what did was who is going to church where?
Yep.
Yeah. And who is a witch and who is not. And I concur with you that the killing of the opposition in this country has done us wrong, because that is why these issues are put on the back burner.
Yeah.
However, I think the media also has a role to play here, because every 2 or 3 top stories nowadays are about Ruto, Raila, who has not even declared, and Musalia. And, in the mix, you could throw in Oka or something.
Yeah.
Those of us that are speaking about the hypocrisy, about the need for integrity, and so on, are not getting coverage. You would say maybe we're not being heard. Yesterday, I actually went public on my Facebook page because I realized nobody is wanting to give us space.
That's very true. I completely concur with you. The kind of attention that the media is giving is giving this political attention instead of the stories that really matter to the people. Ruben, we need to go to the top of the news because it's about top of the hour. It's about 10 seconds.
Congratulate you for what you're doing, because I'm positively surprised you're covering this, and I'm very, very thankful.
Asante sana. We'll catch up with you again later. Maybe we can continue this conversation. Thank you very much, Ruben. A very good morning to you. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Kenya has so far received over 5 million vaccines. This comes as 880,000 doses of the Moderna vaccines have arrived at JKIA. Health CAS Rashid Aman and U.S. Ambassador to Kenya Eric Nidler have received the second consignment of vaccines from the U.S. government.
23rd, we received the first batch of the Moderna vaccines from the U.S., about an equal amount of 880,460 doses. This second batch now completes the donations, the Moderna vaccine from the United States government amounting to 1,760,780 doses.
The government on Friday received the first consignment of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine comprising of 141,600 doses. Health CIS Masi Mwangangi, who received the shipment on behalf of the CS, told Kenyans to come out in large numbers to get vaccinated. So far, over 800,000 Kenyans have been fully vaccinated, with the government targeting 10 million Kenyans by the end of this year. More than 400,000 people at the coast are in dire need of food, with 4 out of the region's 6 counties requiring urgent interventions. Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River and Lamu are among 23 counties on the national government's red list as drought ravages Kenya's northeast and coast regions. Agriculture CS Peter Munya says some of the measures the government is considering is buying livestock for pastoralists and cash transfers. A total of 128,073 students placed in universities and more than 193,900 placed in colleges 3 weeks ago will from this morning be joining their institutions. Health CEO Charles Ringera says the earliest first-year students can expect the funds in their accounts is early next month. The application process for the fund is still ongoing. This comes as students have been encouraged by Education CS George Magoha to as well apply for technical institutions as they still stand a chance to pursue a course of their choice despite getting low grades.
Even in the admission process at a lower level, we placed children properly. Then parents, through corruption or what have you, moved their children to other schools. Quite a number of those children defied their parents and went to schools that they were taken in the first instance. And we praise God for it. So something is happening.
Kenya Railways has introduced an additional train on the Nairobi to Athi River Lukenya route. The authority says residents around the area can catch the second train in the morning from Athi River Station at 9:20 a.m. and to Athi River Station in the evening at 7:30 p.m. Athi River Lukenya residents now have about 8 trains plying the route daily. DCI detectives have arrested Eunice Lewa alias Agnes Muthui, a serial fraudster involved in fraudulent sales of hired motor vehicles. The suspect, a resident of Kahawa West, Kahawa Skari, was arrested in Gatundu, where she was to sell a Toyota Wish. Police say she'll be arraigned in court today. And in sports, Liverpool are continuing to talk to Mohamed Salah's representatives over a new deal for the 29-year-old Egypt forward. Elsewhere, Everton's Colombia midfielder James Rodriguez has been linked with a move to Istanbul, with the Turkish club keen to sign the 30-year-old before their transfer window closes on Wednesday. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, still continues to be a thing right in the middle of the city. The CBD is absolutely jam-packed today. Folks in and out of the city. Langata Road is also quite full today. We're looking at traffic also then feeding off from Islay. We're looking at traffic feeding off from Jogo Road at that Landis Road roundabout right around Kamkunji. Coming out of Westlands as well. That ramp is still closed. The ramp is still closed. So that means that traffic still continues. Muthui Road is an option for folks to get into the city this morning. We're also looking at Langata Road heading into the city, very tight right now. The roundabout at Nyeri Stadium all the way through to Haile Selassie into Westlands and outbound as well continues. Mombasa Road is packed. My goodness, out into the city. The ICD route is also offering off some reprieve this morning, giving folks another option to get out into the city. So there's an option for you to use this morning. Remember, we saw that industrial, if you're coming onto Mombasa Road from the city industrial area, then out through to Enterprise Road and then getting onto Mombasa Road is also an option. Thank me later. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text us on 40127. Let's see if we can keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
6 minutes
your
after
day.
8. A very good morning to you. How are you doing on this 6th day of September 2021? Kenya's biggest conversation in the room. Eric Latif and Nduoko C.T. Muga has taken some time off to re-energize his batteries. Today's proverb is a Maasai proverb. You know where you come from, but you do not know where you're going to. You know where you come from, but you do not know where you are going to. That is the proverb of the day. It's a Maasai one. You want to hear it in Kimasai?
You can say it in Kimasai.
Yeah? No, do you want to hear it in Kimasai?
I would love to hear it in Kimasai from you.
Okay, talk to me later. I will tell it to you in Kimasai. I'm looking for it actually.
Should be interesting.
Eyolo ake enilo kake meyolo enekijokini. Bas.
It's a bit freaky that you can pronounce Masai very
Yes. Kake kabisa. A very good morning to everybody who's joining us on KTN Home. You'll be with us until the top of the hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. And we are on SpiceFM around the country: Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, and Malindi. Yep. So the conversation that we want to have in this hour is on women in leadership, women empowerment into the next general election. So what we know is that in the Constitution we gave ourselves, we also set for ourselves some ideals and said, we are going to make sure that we have equity in our positions of leadership across the country, especially when it comes to gender. We'll make sure that the marginalized, the minority groups, and this is the youth, the persons living with disabilities, will also have a say at the table, at the decision-making table. And one of the things that has been done is by putting it in law that, one, we must make sure that our elected leadership positions have at least a balance in gender, and that is no gender shall occupy more than 2/3. Right? So there shall be the 2/3, 1/3 split at least. It can go to 50-50. No problem at all, right? We know that the National Assembly has not met that. We know the county assemblies have met that because there was the County Assemblies Act, which allows, the Constitution itself, which comes up with a way in which the members can be nominated to fill the slots. Our cabinet, there has been all this conversation about, is it 30% or is it 29.3%? Or we know about, other positions of leadership where we always constantly keep looking at whether there is proper representation of gender. The Judicial Service Commission now looks okay. The leadership of the judiciary looks good, okay? But when it comes to the next general election, when people have got to go and elect leaders, are people prepared to elect more women leaders in the next general election? Let's go backwards. Are political parties prepared to nominate more women for positions of leadership in the next election? Are more women prepared to present themselves and offer themselves up for leadership positions in the next election? If we begin from whether we already have demand, and then whether we have people who are willing to put themselves out there and say, I want to be elected. Then let's have the conversation. Are people then willing to have that conversation with them? To help us have this conversation is one of the only 3 women who were elected as governors in the last election. There were 3. One of them, unfortunately, passed away, Joyce Laboso. So we only have 2 women now as governors. And this is the Kitui governor, Charity Ngilu, and Kirinyaga governor, Anne Waiguru. And she joins us now on the line. Good morning, Governor.
Morning.
A very good morning and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We call this the hot seat, where if you are in the studio, now with yours and all the good flags and all, we just call that the hot seat as well.
Yeah, I think it's too hot.
We shall still warm it up for you and make sure that you have some good time. Let's start by congratulating you. You are among the women who were named as 100 most influential African women 2021 recently, and you've been placed in the same category as Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia. We have Sahle-Work Zewde, who's the president of Ethiopia. We have Ngozi Chimamanda. We have CJ Martha Koome and others, Charity Ngilu as well. So being placed in that pedestal and being recognized among the women who are influential in the continent is a good thing. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that very much. A great honor.
Indeed it is, and not only just for you, but also for the country.
Yes, and for the women of this country as well.
And then last week you held some meetings, and we saw that your communications team released a statement, and you also went onto your social media and you released the same. You're saying the collective power of women is like the sound of thunder, the message of which you cannot ignore. Women account for 50% of the population, and more than 60% of those who vote. They must be represented at all levels, including all negotiation tables. And you say that you are holding a meeting with women leaders to have conversations with the women grassroots leaders and opinion shapers from across Nakuru County. So tell us about this. What was this all about?
I think, Eric, what happens is that we need to start having these conversations. A lot of times we have been in boardrooms in the cities, the big towns, discussing the importance of women being recognized and being called to sit on the negotiating table, and also to just be given the rightful space. But it's not happening. And the reason I think it's not happening is that we are really engaging at our level amongst those of us who are elected, but we're not carrying along the electorate, the women who actually make the decisions about who gets elected at the end of the day. And if you do not bring them on board, we will be talking in boardrooms saying that, yes, we need the 2/3. We have already tried to go through the legislative process. It hasn't worked. I think it's over 6 times that we've attempted to pass the bill on the 2-gender rule. And because you're trying to pass it in a parliament which is largely male, and maybe we haven't been very effective in communicating what gender balance means or the importance of it, we haven't succeeded. So we have to start looking for alternative ways to ensure that we get this at least 1/3 gender represented in all spheres of leadership. And I thought that it would be good to take the initiative. As a woman leader, I'm required to play my role to ensure that I bring others along, not just to sit there. That when my term comes to an end, that I'll say I have contributed to increasing the space for women in this country. So I just thought, let me start talking to women at the grassroots. Let me hear what they think. How do they view us as women leaders? What do they think when they are presented by candidates that are willing to, are they willing themselves to come out and say, I'm going to try despite the difficulties? So starting that engagement is what I thought is important. And it's not to wait for a party, not to wait for my fellow women leaders to go with me, just to start the conversation and let's see where it takes us. Yeah.
Governor, even as you do this, and even as others who are involved in this movement, because I'm not talking about it as something new, but in the move or in the push to have more women involved, whether it is taking up positions of leadership or whether it is appreciating those women who actually do come out and then putting the support behind them, even as this goes on, is there a fundamental understanding or appreciation of the particular women who come out? Because the narrative that has been spun sometimes has been that even women don't support women. Women don't believe. There's a large percentage of women in this country who don't believe women should come out for elective positions. How do you deal with that as an issue, even as this support is being drummed up?
That is, let me say, I would say fairly, but not completely accurate. I think it depends on where we come from. I don't think it's the problem with the women not believing in women. I was elected by majority of the voters in Kirinyaga being women. I'm a woman leader. But if you look even at Kirinyaga, you will notice that there is an issue. I think it's how women are presented. They elected me as a woman governor, but they did not elect a single MP other than the woman, which is completely, that seat is preserved for women.
Yep.
All MPs were male, and all the county assembly was male. But the fact that they elected me says that they believe that a woman can lead, because the senior most position was given to a woman. And I think it's a little bit more about culturalization and the society. In Kirinyaga, I was lucky to have had another woman leader, having been there for 20 years. Martha Karua was there for 20 years as a woman MP. And so they were already socialized that you can have women who are leaders. So it made it, I think, a little bit easier for Kirinyagans to think that, yes, a governor can be. And also she was a governor candidate. So the two top candidates were women. In fact, even as we go to 2022, I think it's the only county that 3 top contenders in Kirinyaga will be women. So you're guaranteed in Kirinyaga the governor will be a woman. Right? So I think it's a little bit more, not just about women not wanting to elect women, but a little bit more about socialization and exposure and education and what it is that we tell our people. Now, where you have dominant male representatives, you will find that people will tend to elect male because they have never seen another woman emerge. But then, because in Kirinyaga we had a woman for a very long time, it was a little bit easier. And that woman also happened to have been in the gubernatorial competition. So they said, actually, you can move up, you can become a governor. A woman can lead. And I think that's a message that we want to change right now, especially where we don't have women in such senior positions. We are only 2 women out of 47. I mean, 45 are male. And that, whether we like it or not, has an impact in how people view even just a seat called governor. We've never had a woman president. We've had women presidential candidates. And apart from my sister governor, Charity Ngilu, who did pretty well in those days, I think the rest haven't performed as much. I think if you look at Mother's votes, when she stood in 2013, she had less than 100,000 votes in the entire country. That tells you that we still have a lot to do to educate our people, to educate our communities, to move away from especially the cultural, because I have thrown that angle severally, that in our culture we cannot have women leaders. We even have some communities in Mount Kenya who say that they cannot even recognize, they will not even consider even a governor for a woman. And that conversation needs to happen fairly fast. And we need to bank it so that we can create this level playing field. Otherwise, we will just be in this conversation where we say we don't have 2/3 gender rule. It's not even 2/3. We are way below the mark. We're not anywhere near the 2/3. So,
where do political parties, in your opinion, often been the proponent for political parties nominating women. So from that point, whether you like it or not, you've already mainstreamed women in the conversation from the get-go. I think of times back when girls were not even educated, and it took certain fathers in the community to insist that their children, that their female children went to school. Thereafter, we saw the benefits of it, and others started to say, oh wow, this is what could happen if my own daughter went to school. And then we had more and more sending their daughters to school. Political parties in this case would be the proverbial father. If you nominated women from the get-go, and then you make sure that they're in that position, you are then able to present them at that point, and then people can actually see what can happen as a result. What's your opinion on the role that political parties play then to mainstreaming women in political positions or leadership positions?
I think political parties will be the way to go, actually, because right now we don't have the legislative process in place. There's no law that really would compel anyone to ensure that women are elected. So the way to go between now and 2022 will be political parties. And progressive political parties will have to take a deliberate measure to ensure that they nominate women for seats that they can win in their strongholds. You see, when we say that we want women, I've had this conversation with various party leaders. I think you saw us going around at some time back. And the question they ask you is, where are the women? Where are they? We say it's because there is no space. Women don't have the latitude to be running around in meetings the whole day, looking for party leaders, so to speak. If you're in the rural areas, if you come from let me say, a community in Homa Bay, you won't have the time to come to Nairobi to look for a party leader, to meet you, to tell them, I need a nomination. If only you gave me a nomination, I'm sure I would win. So we have to be very aggressive as parties to go look for women, provide space for them, in the sense that one of the hindrances for women entry into politics is resources, is money. And political parties can step in and bridge that gap so that you do not require these women to put this money up front, and also support their political campaign, as a party. If the party supported women candidates, it would be easier. Myself and Joyce were supported by our party once we were nominated, and that's how we managed to get in. If the party was not aggressive in ensuring that we are supported, it wouldn't have been possible for us to be here. So I think it's very important that political parties look for women who are strong, who can win, and then give them a nomination in areas where they are strong. Not to say, for example, that if my party is required to have less than 30% of the nominations to women, we present a list in IBC where we have women in the list, but we nominate them in the areas where we are not strong, let's say in Luo Nyanza. Of course they will win, But if in Central Province they say that 50% of the slots that we're giving, we will give to women candidates, they will win. At least you will have 30% of those winning, and we then increase the chances of women getting into parliament and other positions of leadership, whether it's the county assembly or gubernatorial.
Why isn't the party then thinking this way? You're among the top women leaders in Jubilee Party, your party. Is this the direction that Jubilee is taking for 2022, or is this just a suggestion by Governor Anne Waiguru, but the party leadership is still thinking the way it was thinking in 2017?
I will be very honest and tell you this is a very difficult conversation, even just amongst peers, because when you say that you want women nominated, you're actually saying that somebody who's probably the person you're speaking to right now in the party is occupying that seat and is male.
Yep.
So you're telling them you need to give up your seat for a woman. It's not an easy conversation. And the thing that will ask you is, why is it that you women always want feminism? Why can't you come out and fight it out with us, But as I've said, women are very constrained. You can't have strong candidates, but they have certain constraints that do not provide for a level playing field. And Jubilee Party, I would hope that they will make an attempt to do that. But I know it's very difficult because then they say that they are likely to lose support. If you choose a woman to run on a certain seat that is currently occupied by a male, and that male happens to be a strong candidate, and he defects from your party and goes to the opposition, or the competing party, you're likely to lose that seat. And you see what parties want, they want to win seats. So it's a very delicate balance of ensuring that you are looking for strong women candidates. And I believe they are there. And then deliberately saying, let's negotiate with the male candidates who are in this amongst you, if we just boosted this lady, we are sure that they would win this seat. Support her, and let's see how we can work together in government. That's usually what happens in political parties. You negotiate so that even if someone loses the nomination, they don't defect and go with half your vote to your opponent. So I hope that this is a conversation that the Jubilee Party is going to be taking up. We have been having informal conversations on the same. We have had consultations. We have spoken once or twice to the party leader, especially during the time when we were doing the BPI issue. And now that it didn't work, we have to go back and look at what is the alternative way to ensure that we increase these numbers. And let me say something else. But if we do not increase these numbers, it's going to be very costly for government because you will be required to nominate them. And when you nominate them, then it's an extra cost to the exchequer. So it's in our interest to ensure that we elect these women.
Well, it's in the interest of the country. I'm not sure it's really in the interest of the politicians. They don't really care. It's not their money. Once you see people being nominated, as long as I got my seat, I'm fine. Let's take a break at this point. Governor Anne Waiguru, the Kirinyaga County Governor, we are talking about getting more women in positions of leadership, especially in next year's general election. We are live on SpiceFM. We are also live on KTN Home and also live online, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And you're live streaming the show on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. 26 minutes after 8. We'll be back shortly after taking a look at the weather and traffic. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
We give you the latest, the funniest, and the most entertaining updates and news from Kenya and the world while you kick back and relax. Join in our comical duo Hassan Umar and Sugar Boy on Habari za News every Friday at 10 p.m. only on KTN Home.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Losing a loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what-ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get access to funeral services from our trusted vendors. The Standard Tributes, keeping memories alive.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of
Nairobi at
the
16,
best.
highs of 22, lows of 13 today. We're also going to look at light rain in parts of Nakuru, highs of 23 and lows of 14 today, currently at 16. It's raining in Nyeri at 13 with highs of 20 today. It'll come back down to lows of 13. Let's look into Kisumu where it's cloudy at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 17. Kakamega is cloudy at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 14. We're looking at light rain continuing in Mombasa at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 23. And in Malindi, it's raining at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 24. Looking out into Kampala, partly sunny conditions at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 17. And in Dar es Salaam, it's a sunny morning at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 22. Lagos is raining at 25, highs of 29, come back down to lows of 25. And out in Kinshasa, it's sunny at 22. That'll be the low for today. It'll go to highs of 31.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Okay. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
All right, it's a mishmash of traffic right in the city centre today. Doesn't look like you're going to get out of this one really quickly. Just creeping up on 8:30, and we're in the middle of traffic hour. We're looking at Langata Road, which continues to be a thing this morning, as well as Ngong Road heading into the city at that city mortuary roundabout. You can take three options now: Bagavi Way, down Gong Road, or out towards Awings Quebec, and then down towards Valley Road. Those are options of getting into the city centre, where you will find, guess what? Traffic. And that's what's happening in the middle of the city today. coming off the Thika Superhighway, connecting with that junction at Kiambu Road, which is currently jam-packed. Getting into the city also will be no mean feat. Keep looking at that one today. Remember, we're seeing traffic on Limuru Road. We're seeing quite a lot of traffic on Moranga Road today. And also Mombasa Road continues with its normal madness this morning. The bypasses, guys, that's where you'll find morsels of happiness because they're not packed. Use those to get in and out of the city. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's 8:30. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. In the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. Joining us on the line is Governor Anne Waiguru, the governor of Kirinyaga County, who's been honored by the country with the order of the, what's it called? The Order of the Grand Warrior, right? And also the order of, which one is this? Elder of the Golden Hearts. Both of them. Governor, you were once touted as one of the most powerful cabinet ministers in the last government. You had a docket that had devolution, that had women, that had gender, rather, had youth and all. Now, when you had that position in national leadership, what initiatives did you put in place in your ministry to make sure that we can start mainstreaming the conversation about gender? Because this was a requirement of the Constitution to start mainstreaming gender conversations. And you were the first minister under the new Constitution to start implementing this. What did you do?
Eric, if you remember at the time, we were still new with regard to the implementation of devolution. And one of the things that we had was the women reposition. And with the women reposition, they had been elected in parliament, but they did not have any support structure to enable them to support women development in the grassroots. The normal members of parliament had CDF. So one of the things that I pushed for, and this was also one of those very tough battles, was for the GAF funds, the funds that are used by the women reps to advance the issues of gender. Not only did we do that, we structured the fund, but we also set up for them offices and provided for them infrastructural support, like ensuring that they had 2 vehicles to do groundwork that are run by the technical people on the ground. So that was my first initiative in terms of ensuring every part of this country sees a woman leader, and that woman is supported in ensuring that they're participating in activities that encourage women participation in leadership, but also moving us away from cultures that were retrogressive, such as FGM, and then moving us to supporting communities to educate their women and keep them as equals. And that, I think, has helped us to be where we are today. That was one of the things that I did. I supported Women Enterprise Fund as well. And I was the initiator of the Act for Fund. It was implemented by the Treasury, but the idea of it came from my office, and it was actually, we decided to put at least 30% of government resources in terms of tenders to women and youth. And we thought that if we did that, we will empower more women to be able to have resources, because that has been the biggest constraint of women participation in not just in political leadership, but also in their societies and in their communities. And that, I think, has gone pretty well. It hasn't worked as well as we have wanted, but it has done pretty well in terms of ensuring we have a larger number of women participating in the economy. And now you see them in the Chamber of Commerce and other institutions that bring together women in business. And it all started with the airport. So those are some of the initiatives that we put together in addition to also ensuring that we are generally conversing and helping women stand out and participate in political affairs.
How about in entrenching the policy of and the whole culture of encouraging more women to participate in leadership from cabinet level. I mean, when you were in cabinet, you were not 30%. But also at that time, the cabinet, the national government had a responsibility to try and bring together the National Assembly or push through the conversation in the National Assembly for that law on attaining the 2/3 gender rule. What efforts did you make in that?
For that one, first of all, when I was in cabinet, we were 30% out of the 31. I think we're just below 30%, we're 6 women. And also, we happen to have gotten the most powerful docket. I think one of the things that His Excellency the President did then is to recognize that women are equal leaders. And the ones given the small ministries, they were actually given the strong ministries that shows that his confidence in women leadership. In terms of the legislation, we were very active in participation of the laws that were being developed in Bunge. We even tried to support the lobbying. I will tell you, it wasn't once or twice. Every time that bill came, the ministry took the initiative to put women together to come up with a strategy. How do we get men to come and support and vote for this legislation? We would even support them in terms of the information that you need when you're lobbying. How do we go about the conversation? And unfortunately, we just never made the number, the 2/3. We come close, but we never got there. So it's still a journey. I think, as I would say, it's very difficult to go and push a bill on gender where the people who are passing that bill are predominantly male and who actually think that this bill may put them at a disadvantage in their next election. So that has been the tricky part of it, and that's why we were hoping that BBI will just enable us to change certain clauses of the Constitution to make it mandatory, and then parties would have to deal with it. But yeah, we did what we could in terms of education. We lobbied both locally, in Parliament, with the President. He was supportive. We just could not get the numbers. I will tell you, Eric, one of those times we were so sure it would pass because we had all the women leaders. Every person knew who they needed to talk to who was critical in Bunge. They promised they would support, and then the next day they just didn't show up.
Right. So quorum continued to be an issue. You raised something, and I think is interesting, Governor Waiguru, is that, okay, you said if hoping that BBI would have been able to come in and make it mandatory. Making it mandatory seems to have been a process that even other countries would have, said, look, entrenched in law, that you would then have seen things like, affirmative action then play out, right? So whether or not BBI would have been the way to bring it, I think is a totally different conversation. But making it mandatory now, because other things have been tried, as you've just testified to. You've tried, you've lobbied, you've had the conversation in closed quarters, open quarters. So then making it mandatory then seems one way in which to bring it in, and then attitudes can change thereafter. What are other ways in which this mandatory way can come about? Because clearly, many things have been tried and they've not worked. There's been agreements and then there's been no quorum. There's been quorum and then there's been no, there have been so many things that seem to have scuttled the process along the way. And we seem to just be oscillating in the same area, in the same place. Even though some would argue that strides have been made, we're not where we were 50 years ago, for example. But would making it mandatory actually bring about the change that we are looking for?
I think so. I don't think we have any other choice. It's just like the way, for example, the government says it is mandatory that you take your children to school, and it's mandatory that you vaccinate your children. Because if you don't, there are those people who will say, in my culture, we do not believe in this vaccination, or in my culture, girls don't go to school.
Right.
So eventually, because it's been mandatory, people get accustomed to it, and then it's mainstream. This issue will have to be through political parties being made to require that at least 30% of the nominated candidates they present to IBC will be women. That's one step. Again, as I said, they may be required to do that, and then they choose women in positions where they cannot win. So the second level will have to be a conversation within the political parties themselves, that those women will engage their political parties and say, I'm a member, I would like to be nominated to run for this seat. I need your support, but I also want to be nominated in an area where our party is strong. That way we will be guaranteed at least a minimum of a third in parliament and possibly in the gubernatorial seat.
So last week when you were holding a meeting with grassroots women leaders in Nakuru, you said among the things that you wanted to do was to understand what they think and also understand how they view the current women leaders. What answers were you getting?
They're very confined. They say, first of all, they believe that women can lead. You know, then you ask them, okay, so who amongst you would you recommend for even just, let's say, MCAC? And they said, we know some people who would be running, and then I would ask, would you vote for them? They said, yeah, this one is a bit strong, but this one, the guy is much stronger. You see already, because of the biases of these seats are mostly occupied by men. Like in Nakuru County, out of 60, I think 65 MCAs, only 5 are women. Only 5. So you can imagine trying to tell them, with your vote on this other woman candidate. You're coming from very far. So yes, they believe that women can lead. They believe women can lead like me. You know, they even tell me, why don't you go for the top seat?
Yep.
You know? But they do not actually think that there's now someone else at their level at MCA or at MP that they can push, because they haven't seen that aggressiveness of the women. So what I was encouraging them is that you are grassroots leaders.
Yeah.
You are women in your own right. Why don't you stand? You're influential. You're the one who campaigns for us. You see, like, if you want to campaign up country, I have women who are very strong on the ground. They're the ones I rely on to be on my side to get me votes. So you ask them, why can't you stand for that seat? Because you're strong in your area. Why are you just saying, Mimi ni Mama Soko? Yet you're the one carrying the vote. That MP will not get that seat without you.
Yeah.
Why can't you consider? So I'm saying, think about it. Let's see, and if you can't, why don't you pick another woman? Before you choose a man, why don't we decide, at least let's give 30% or 40% of the candidates to be women, because we're the ones who determine the vote. We are not just majority in terms of population, but on the voting day in Kenya, over 60% of the people who actually get out to vote are women.
Are you holding the same conversations in Kirinyaga?
Pardon?
Sorry, are you holding the same conversations in Kirinyaga County?
Yes. If you notice, there was a day I was eating Nyeri with the women. That is the conversation we're having amongst us. Those are the women mobilizers of Kirinyaga and are saying, okay, well and good you're supporting me, but how many other people are we supporting? Are we supporting women MCAs? Will we have at least 5 or 6 in the country? Then they're asking me where are they? Said, here is one, here is another one, you know. Would you consider? You know? So that's the conversation we're having even in Kirinyaga, and I intend to, as much as possible, see if I can have the conversation not just in Kirinyaga alone, but in the entire central Kenya. We can't just have out of 10 counties one woman governor. We have, for example, 2 governors who are leaving because they've done their second term.
Right.
It would be fantastic if in those 2 counties, without now having to antagonize anyone because they are going, say that why don't we support women candidates? And they have presented themselves in Moranga and in Embu, you know? Cecily Maria has presented herself. Sabina has presented herself. And they're credible candidates.
Absolutely.
Because if I start saying that we want women to be elected as governors, the governors who are in position may feel certain, but this particular 2 seats, they are outgoing.
even as we say this and we're having these conversations, Governor, is this conversation not competing for attention at the same time with other conversations that seem to cloud it out? Because for me, if it's really going to gain traction, it has to be front and center all the time. But at the same time, we're hearing, even from you, conversations about bringing together the leadership of Central, for example. So we hear this, but then this is just as important, if not more, when we talk about gender mainstreaming. When it's competing with other conversations, such as the Central leadership, Mount Kenya leadership, when this women in leadership conversation is competing with Mount Kenya, for example, how then will it come and remain in the fore?
In the conversation, even on Mount Kenya leadership, for example, we mainstream it, and we're saying it's very important that we look at all aspects. The uniqueness of our situation right now is that we also have in Mount Kenya succession politics that you cannot ignore. And so just talking about women leadership without having to discuss how we are going to converse about the succession politics would be putting ourselves in a place where we're in denial. The critical issue right now is on the number one issue is on the succession issue. And in there, we are weaving the issue of gender and the importance of recognizing that. In fact, in my view, by the way, even in this succession politics, I think that whoever, and I've said it before, whoever considers the gender aspect will actually have a lead. It will be the game changer in 2022. Everything else is too normal. You know, it's the same faces. In politics, we were there in 2013, we were there in 2017. And if you listen to the younger generation, they are saying, give us something different. And there has to be something that creates a sort of a wave. And my belief is that thing that will create that wave is the gender conversation. Whoever is a presidential candidate, whether male or female, who chooses the alternative gender as their running mate, and their strong candidate will have an upper hand.
You know, Governor Waiguru, this is your first term in politics, and it seems you're actually doing very well. Is this part of your political game plan to mainstream yourself along the gender line, and also hope that if candidates are looking, for example, to partner with somebody who is strong on gender, then Anne Waiguru is right up there on the list? For example, are you saying that somebody who considers a running mate who is a woman has a strong chance of getting the Mount Kenya vote or the country's vote, and therefore Anne Waiguru, because she's championing gender, she's right up there?
I think, let me say this, we have always said that if you have no ambition, you have no business being in politics. Right? Yep. That's one. Two, I'm a politician. I am at this point in time one of the senior-most women politicians in this country. If you look at the issue of hierarchy, for example, you have politically, you have the president, the deputy president, and the next level is governor.
Yes.
And amongst governors, we are two women leaders. Now, politics is not just about choosing people by hierarchy, but also looking at who can be popular enough to galvanize for you certain level of support. And I think if I was to consider going that way, I think I'm fairly placed as a woman leader, fairly placed to support a candidate to move, because I have been at the forefront. And not only am I at the forefront, I have proven myself as a woman who can be elected against very many odds, and also to have students. I don't think that the issue of choosing a woman leader is just choosing a woman leader because they're a woman. I think woman is just one aspect, but they also have to look at other things such as qualifications, issues of performance, whether you have been elected before, have you proven yourself, are you known nationally? If you're going to be supporting a presidential candidate, they don't want to pick somebody who's not known. You would have to go to a part of this country and start introducing them. I mean, I don't think that's how politics works. I think politics works in different spheres, in different ways. So yes, gender is one aspect. Yes, I have been at the forefront. If I was to be considered, it's something I would consider. But having said that, I think there's a lot more. Look at, for example, what I have done in Kirinyaga. They would want to know, what have you done? What do the people in Kirinyaga think about me right now? I will tell you, if you go to Kirinyaga today and ask the question, has your life been transformed? They will tell you, we never imagined it would be transformed to this level. It's just a fact. If you go to healthcare, and that's why I have had such serious battles with the men who want to run in 2022. And I've said very many times, my political battles are mostly because of my performance. Look at healthcare. I have elevated our hospital level 4 to level 5. Modern hospital, 350 bed capacity. We never had an ICU or HDU. We'll be opening the hospital in another month or so. And it's the same class and standard with Nairobi Hospital or Aga Khan. In fact, I don't think there's a hospital like that in our region. If you look at our infrastructure development, the upgrades of our markets, I have built 11 markets in those 3 years, and I'm about to finish this coming month another 4 markets to make them 15 and another 4 beginning of next year to bring them to 20 before the next election. They never had more than 2 markets in the previous regime in 5 years. If you look at the hospitals that we have upgraded, Baricho Hospital, we have done a male ward. We've done a maternity ward in Kirinyaga. We've built a maternity in South Ngariama, which is a far-flung area in Kirinyaga. An X-ray center in Sagana. Those are just some of the things that we have done. In agriculture, we have implemented a program called Wezesha. And the Wezesha program has been uplifting homes, increasing the income in these homes by over 1,000 shillings a day. You know, we talk about people living with under $1 a day. But if you look at our poultry program, for example, the families that are benefiting are earning about 1,000 shillings from their poultry project a day. And we have others in avocados. We have others who are doing tomatoes. We have another team that is doing pig. We have youth who are doing beekeeping. And that is to increase income in people's pockets, tangibly, not stories of saying that when I am elected, I will do. I have done it.
Right.
And the only thing that stops us from doing more is the resources that we have at Kirinyaga County. So if you look at a track record like that and now you say, if I was to campaign for being president, for example, I'll say, this is what I have done in Kirinyaga. If you elect me, I will spread this program across the entire rural community of this country. This is how we will bring people up from the bottom to the top. But not to say that we will bring people by just throwing money or theories that are not implementable.
Right.
So I think that would be a consideration when campaigns really start. What have you done? What do you promise to do for us, and can we believe you?
Can we see your track record? So, Governor, when recently you said you were taking some time to do some introspecting on the political way forward. What did you mean by that?
Just that. You know, Eric, the problem with us in leadership is that we keep going and never take time to think and take stock of where it is that you're at. For example, if you've had 2 major fails, you need to ask yourself, what have I done wrong? What am I doing wrong? You know, is there something that I have missed? You know, am I not listening to what people are saying? That's exactly what I wanted to do, just to sit back and ask myself, I have been at the forefront of BBI. I have stood with a handshake against all odds. I have swum upstream in Mount Kenya. Here we are. We have had 1 loss in the High Court. We've had now a second in the Court of Appeal. By the reading of the law and the judgment, the way they went, it's unlikely that we would go very far, even in the Supreme Court. Right? Going by those 2, it's very unlikely that the Supreme Court will overturn 2 decisions of the High Court. You need to sit back and say, where did I go wrong? What is it that I can do? What is it that we wanted to achieve with this BBI, and which are the other avenues we can use to achieve the same? Secondly, what are the people on the ground saying? Because when you ask, what do you think about this thing? This thing was bringing you resources. It was supposed to benefit you. That message doesn't seem to have trickled into their hearts. Is it the way we presented the message? You know, you have to ask yourself as a leader so that you're not going and then eventually hit a dead end. And I think it's very important for every leader. And I'm hoping that everybody, not just those of us who were on the side of the BDF, but even the ones who are not. It's a time that we need to introspect and ask ourselves, is this the way we want to go? Is this the way we want to take our country? How do we take our country forward? And every leader should do that.
Right.
So I'm in the process of doing that, and then when I eventually make my decision on where it is that I think I need to change course or maybe maintain course, I will communicate.
Are you likely to go to UDA?
I don't think it's the right time to have that conversation right now. I can't say I would. I can't say I would not. This is politics. But it's unlikely. But a bit early. Let's see what the ground looks like. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the ground. They will, bottom line, decide which direction we take, and also depending on whether I want to go for which seat.
Right.
Who
decides that? And when I say who, is it Anne Waiguru who decides that, or is it the hopes of the people who are hoping, for example, that you continue some of this good work that you've talked about? Who decides what direction that will go in? You or the hopes of the people?
The hopes of the people. I will tell you this. I will not be ignorant to try and go against the people. I cannot vote myself in. So I'm listening very keenly to what is it that they want. Do they want me to run for governorship for a second term? Because in politics, it's not just about performance. You can be a fantastic performer and not be re-elected. So it's not just about performance. And anyone who thinks that they have performed and therefore should be re-elected, that is very naive in politics. Sometimes politicians elected on waves of political parties. So you can be swept away despite your good performance with the wave that comes your way, So you did well, they'll tell you, yes, you did well, luckily you're in the wrong camp. They can say that. They can decide that. So I need to be very clear that I'm listening to the people. They can also say, why don't you go for deputy? They can say that.
Yep.
They say, sometimes these seats are negotiated. You hear someone saying, no, let this person run for this, and let's position ourselves in this way. So that is the season we are at, where we are listening to the ground, listening how is it that if I was to go and win a governorship, how would I win this seat? Would I win it by myself as an independent? And then if I was an independent, maybe I can swing it. But how will I govern? How do you govern as an independent governor with
the county assembly coming from
to another party? They'll impeach you in the second month.
Right.
Realities of our politics.
Yeah.
Governor Anne Waiguru, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. We'll speak to you again soon. Hopefully, next time you will be in the studio.
Thank you, and hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very
Asante
much.
sana. That's Governor Anne Waiguru, Kirinyaga Governor, speaking to us in the Situation Room. Thank you very much for those who've been watching us on KTN Home. Time for us to take a break, but also you can switch over to SpiceFM because in the next hour we have more conversations, just also picking up from what we've heard from Governor Anne Waiguru. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Coming up to the top of the hour,
Spice up.
You've heard the conversation, you've heard what the governor is saying. We'll open up the phone lines and let's get some reactions from the people because, well, yes, we know this is what the people wanted to hear. And this is what the people were basically asking about. We didn't get into the politics of UDA or Jubilee much because, her stand has just been there on where exactly she lies. She said she's still in Jubilee. She's laughed it off when we asked about UDA, saying, let's see. It's unlikely, but let's see. This is politics. When someone says, let's see, they've left the door open.
Right.
Kenya's biggest conversation continues into the next hour. Good morning. It's now 9 a.m.
spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Health CAS Rashid Aman says the over 880,000 Moderna COVID-19 vaccines which were received from the US government will assist in conducting a robust vaccination campaign in the country. Aman, while receiving the donation this morning at JKIA, said the donation will be a relief from the constraints we have been experiencing from global supply slowly fading away.
This donation will be of great help during this time that we are conducting a robust vaccination campaign against the COVID-19 pandemic in our country. The constraints we have been experiencing in the past few months arising from the global supply of vaccines is slowly fading away with the arrival of such donations. I am glad to report that the Ministry of Health is now making steady progress in the COVID-19 vaccination campaign.
He has further encouraged Kenyans to now come out in big numbers to get vaccinated against the virus, as it will create a possibility of some MOH guidelines being relaxed. Aman says for the economy to be open, Kenyans need to achieve herd immunity or a large adult population that's fully vaccinated.
It is important to remember that although the first dose provides one with some level of immunity and protection, full protection only comes when one is fully vaccinated as per the protocol of that particular vaccine. Remember, for us to fully reopen our economy, we need to have achieved herd immunity, have our entire adult population fully vaccinated. The government is doing its part to acquire vaccines, deploy them in Kenyan arms, and on their part, Kenyans should avail themselves so that they are fully vaccinated.
More than 1,000 tutors in public and private teacher training colleges will embark on an educator's course on the competency-based curriculum starting today. The training organized by the Teachers Service Commission will see the tutors trained ahead of the September semester, when new students are set to start reporting for the diploma in the primary education course and the one-year diploma upgrade program for P1 certificate teachers. TSEC Nancy Macharia says the training will come to an end on Friday. This comes as some parents and teachers have said that CBC has created a gap of inequality in education 4 years after it was rolled out.
Na tena hatuchui inaitwa BBC imeanza, CBC hatuchui. Sasa tunajua ile ya zamani, ile 844. Kwa sababu hiyo maneno imeanziwa huko town na hapa ni msituni.
Jishwa vitabu karibu 20, exercise books peke yake. Textbook zinakaribia 12. Ambapo naona hapo CBC ni kuumiza wazazi.
Cost ya CBC pia imekuwa juu. Juu unaweza pata mwalimu anapatia mtoto homework, aenda print. For example, furnitures akala. Wewe kama mzazi umetoka kutafuta, umechoka, then haitakuwa amefanya homework zake zote, juu kwenda kwa cyber kuprint ni costly.
The Law Society of Kenya elections are set to be held on the 17th of March next year. LSK President Nelson Harvey says that the LSK SGM on the 24th of this month will be his last assignment in office. He further says that they'll constitute the elections board and approve IBC to conduct elections on March next year. He also says with over 20 judgments against government, advisory for dissolution of parliament and stop of the BBI, they've done enough work during his term in office. And finally, a US lawmaker has accused the Taliban of stopping Afghans and Americans from leaving Afghanistan via Mazar-i-Sharif International Airport. Republican House member Michael McCall says that planes have been trying to leave the airport for the last couple of days. The Taliban has, however, denied the claims, labeling them as propaganda. And in business, online forex cons have turned to social media with fake regulatory endorsements to lure unsuspecting Kenyans into sending them money on pretext of helping them invest. The Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts, which is mandated by law to regulate the investment and finance profession in Kenya, says it has been alerted that some companies are using forged certificates to claim the professional body has approved them. And in sports, Canadian teenager Leila Fernandez continued her remarkable US Open run as she beat 2016 champion Angelique Kerber to advance to the quarterfinals. On her 19th birthday, Fernandez backed up her win over Naomi Osaka with a 4-6, 7-6 victory over Germany's Kerbers. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In the city centre, quite a lot of traffic this morning. It continues on Mombasa Road as well. We're looking at traffic all the way from Sabaki out towards the SGR, and that's not letting up anytime soon. Right around 9 o'clock, we're still in traffic hour. ICD route is looking good for a lot of folks, and then you join either with General Motors on Mombasa Road, or you go out towards the southern bypass as an option to get into the city. And then out towards Ngong Road. Longer route, but you won't get stuck in the madness that is Langata Road today. Doesn't look good, guys. But we know it'll, cease as the day goes on. But for now, it's jam-packed. Where else is it looking tight? On the Thika Superhighway, all the way now from Survey through to the Pangani Underpass, and then out towards Maranga Road. We're looking at traffic also on Limuru Road today. Quite hot and heavy, so if you can avoid that, please do. Options to get into the city, Wangari Maathai Road, use that as an option as well. Apart from that, doesn't look too bad. It looks a bit sticky, however, right around Westlands. Use the Red Hill Link Road out into the city. Much better for folks today. Keep an eye on things, guys. Help us out as well. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
We
day.
come in peace, no punching at all this morning. It's the 6th day of September 2021. Thank you very much for keeping it locked on Spice FM and online. This is Kenya's biggest conversation with Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. C.T. Muga is away, but he left me with this Maasai proverb. You know where you come from, but you do not know where you're going to. You know where you come from, but my yellow, a yellow where you are going to.
My yellow.
My yellow.
Okay.
Mañana.
Mañana.
Mañana in the mañana. Okay. So, from that conversation.
Certain things jumped out for me.
Okay.
All right. And Governor Anwar Igoro says, look, the proposed leader who comes out to choose one of the opposite gender as their running mate is the one that should be seen as a progressive leader in this country and probably should get the vote. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. So if you're a man, you choose a running mate as a woman. You're a woman, you choose a running mate as a man. And I'm going to assume that she's talking about, of course, these positions, governor and president. So if you choose the running mate, that shows that you're being progressive in leadership. But then unfortunately for me, then you jump into this little bucket whereby people are going to be choosing that individual just to show that they're very interested then in gender balancing when it comes to politics in this country. And are we choosing it because the label has, would we then be making the choice? Because the label has been duly given, and then we need to follow whatever labels have been then prescribed. And I think we're running into somewhat dangerous territory here because people will make decisions because, all right, there's a label. And if I do this, it shows that I'm being progressive, right? And so people are then going to make a decision based on that.
But isn't it a good thing, though?
Look, it is, because what happens is that it's a net that you're throwing out there.
The end and the means, which justifies the other.
Look, it's like throwing out a net into the ocean or into a body of water. You're going to catch something, right? So it's that something. The something in this sense is that you hope more women, or that there will be greater balance, and then you win, right?
Yeah.
So whether or not people are doing it because they really believe that there needs to be an element of balance, or people are doing it because there is the perceived notion that if they do, they're likely to be chosen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it shows progression. Look at the Democrats in the USA, okay? Because their strong candidate in the previous election had been a woman. What that whole move by Joe Biden to pick a female running mate, and go down in history as the first one who's a female running mate. First one who's likely to become the vice president of America, not the first running mate. Remember, there was the Republicans had somebody else before.
Yes.
But then this is it. It's showing there's movement. But for those that campaign for women in leadership, the end justifies the means.
So we're saying
those that are campaigning for women leadership today, we're saying we're campaigning for women leadership. What is it that we're pushing for in the BBI by saying, let's have, a mix. Let's start at the governor's level. Let's have a mix at the governor level where it's a man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. That's what they were pushing for.
So whichever way in which it would come in, let it just happen. Whichever way, as in you open the door, whatever needs to fly in the door, let it fly in. But at the end of the day, what we are doing is that we will see more women on this platform.
Yes.
Right? So it doesn't really matter whether it is your belief, whether you think it's a good idea or not, whether you think that women
it's a
should
belief
be,
that the people want to see something like that.
so you're going to go ahead and make the move because it would make sense at the end of the day.
Yes.
So whomever makes a decision today by picking a running mate of the opposite gender would be helping to fulfill this national balance agenda.
They'll be elevating the conversation. I'm not sure that will be the biggest conversation. I'm not sure that they'll be able to make a difference. I don't really think so. But it's a good conversation to have. Look, we've had women who have vied. We've had Charity Ngilu, we've had Martha Karua who have vied. But people did not look at them and say, this is a woman, so therefore I'm going to vote for.
No.
Martha Karua did not get 100,000 votes.
So
people are not looking at her and thinking gender. So the same way, if William Ruto picks a woman, or Raila Odinga picks a woman, or Ruben Kigame picks a woman, that's not what is going to be the changing factor for them to get the votes. It's still going to be the local politics. William Ruto, for example, over the weekend, promised and pledged that his running mate is going to come from Mount Kenya. Okay? Could have been dangling the carrot, just saying that. Is that what is likely to bring in the voters? Look at the next block of votes and see if I can balance it out this way, then I can get the votes. Now, if I can pick a Mount Kenya person who's a woman as a running mate, then
even better for me.
Even better for me.
For me, you see?
But then that brings in the question whether the people look at that woman and they think whether she's a strong person.
All right. So then what? So are we having the conversation of, so now if we're having this gender conversation, take what you can get. Whether individuals or the community at large believes that it's actually for good doesn't matter. So long as you have women in there, the ends justify the means.
No. Remember, just like what she said, it's not just a woman. It's whether a woman has credibility as a leader.
Exactly.
Does this woman have leadership qualities and does she have that credibility? So that it will be the added advantage. Now, if you have a strong person, if you have a strong person who is a good performer and then that person is of the opposite gender, then you're clearly saying that, you know what, I am also recognizing the power of this gender in leadership.
I think so. I do, and I'm glad that did come out because I think this conversation has the danger of going in the direction of, look, so long as there's a woman there or so long as there's somebody of the opposite gender, then it's fine. But I think that we need to still look at meritocracy here, where you're saying, look, it's got to be somebody who's, number one, worth their salt. It has to be somebody who really has a good head on their shoulders and knows what they're doing, not just because they're someone of the opposite gender. I'd rather you pick somebody of the same gender who fits the bill, as opposed to just doing it because you need to fill a box where there's a woman there. And I think we run the risk of getting to that point where you say, you know what, we need to see more women. Even if we are going to go to the place where now we say that it is mandatory or that it is encouraged then for political parties to make the nomination selection whereby you're balancing it out at that level. It shouldn't just be anybody, any Tom, Dick and Harry who walks in the door. By nature of the fact that they're women, it must be people who fit the bill.
But you see, you're forgetting something. They're talking about two politicians. These politicians are looking for votes, okay? So the number one concern is, are you likely to get the votes that we need? Now, if you're likely to get the votes that we need because of whatever demographic you represent, either your tribe, either your location, or your gender, We'll look at that. Are you likely to bring in the vote? For you to be able to bring in the vote, it means that you're an opinion leader in that
And the
demographic.
shaper, right? Yes. Mhm.
In that demographic, which means that you're highly unlikely to go and pick somebody who is unknown, who needs to be introduced to the electorate and be introduced as this is the person who's my running mate. They've got to be somebody who already has a name, has a reputation, has something, some credentials that they bring to the table. Now, the advantage of now saying that this person is also a woman, and therefore you see, all of you can see what we are doing. I think it's a good thing.
I think so.
I don't see a possibility of somebody just coming and saying, I want to be president or governor, and I have gone and picked somebody who you guys don't know about. I don't know what credentials they bring to the table, but this is the person who's going to be my running mate. Although we've seen that with governors, what they balance it out with is regional representation. Within this county, if the governor comes from this part of the county, then you pick a running mate from another part of the county. So that those people from that part of the county can say, well, this is one of our own anyway. Even if we don't know the person has been working and living in America for the last, I don't know how many years. We only know his family. The case of West Pokot, for example. Deputy governor, missing.
Hasn't stepped in the county since.
Not in the country. Got sworn in, boarded a plane, went back. He's a surgeon in America. But if you went to that county, they'll tell you, yes, Governor Lonyangapuo is from this side, and the deputy governor is from that side. So we are represented. So you can see that is what he's bringing. Now, if you consider all those things and say, should somebody consider their running mate and consider gender also, add gender to this conversation, I think it's a good thing.
You know how we talk about, and we want to say in quotes, forced decisions. So by you include the gender card because you want to get people thinking in that direction. There are many people who they're unfortunately quite a large percentage who ignore the gender card because you deal with what's faced, to you. Now, if you don't even serve it up on the area of selection, people are not likely to go and look for it, right?
Yep.
You go to a buffet and you see what is there. You're going to eat from the buffet, right? You're not going to go asking, okay, is there a different kind of meat here? No, you're going to eat what's served. So what we're saying, and I think it's actually a good thing, add gender to that. Add the gender agenda to that and say, all right, on what is on offer, let's make sure that we are balancing this thing out. Otherwise, all this, what is going to leapfrog it to the next level is actually going to be mandatory.
So should we make it a requirement for executive, that is county governor and president,
100%,
to be both genders in the ticket?
That's the only way for me.
Make it mandatory for somebody to pick.
I do agree with Governor Waiguru on that if you don't make it mandatory, we're just going to be oscillating in this one place. Yes, we would have made.
But then now you're denying Sabina to pick a woman running mate for governor of Murang'a.
No, I think it should be balanced because unfortunately, what you're going to do is you're going to come back to the same conversation later to say, okay, well, what about the men? Because we get to the point where. Look at this conversation we've had for the longest time about the rights of the girl child and pushing. And then what happened? The boy child was then ignored. And then starting to have conversations. And then we're playing a game of catch up all the time. So I think that it needs to be balanced in that sense. But I still think that you need to introduce and make it mandatory. Without that, it's not going to happen. Whereby you have some communities where they insist that girls go to school. Insist. It becomes, you must go. They come and they get you out of your house, go to school. Why? Because you run a risk of people ignoring that aspect and having them do other things which they think are feminine in nature. School and working is just not one of them in this day and age. If you don't make it mandatory, you will not leapfrog from one level to the next. You will continue having this thing, okay, let's just deal with women in chamas only. Let's deal with women, grassroots mobilization, only that. But in terms of leadership and making decisions that matter on a national level, you will not include them. You won't. In as much as you may want to, or you see that it is important to, if it's not given to you as an option, a mandatory option, you're likely to ignore it.
So let me ask you this question then directly, yes or no, all right? Should it be mandatory for governor and presidential candidates to pick running mates of opposite gender?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What do you think? Should it be mandatory for governor and presidential candidates to pick running mates from the opposite gender? That's the question that we want to discuss this hour. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also call in 0719-012-600. Should we just make it mandatory? The BBI was trying to do that. First, they had started saying that with the governors, the president. Then they moved away from the president because the 5 seats had already been allocated, and there was no woman in the mix. And then now they went to the governors, and that's what the BBI was trying to propose and say, let's have this. Should we have candidates in these executive positions at the county level and the national level being of both genders in the ticket? Now, remember the conversation that we had about the judiciary and the leadership of the judiciary. Today, the leadership of the judiciary is comprised of a woman Chief Justice, a woman Deputy Chief Justice, a woman Registrar of the judiciary. Yeah? And we're starting this conversation. We're saying, we haven't seen it. I mean, we've just seen when the Chief Justice is a man and the Deputy Chief Justice is a woman. And then we're reminded, actually, the law does not discriminate. It doesn't say that it must be.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
And now we ended up with
2 women.
2 women. Now, if we start discriminating, we are also doing that to women.
Are we discriminating?
And telling Sabina Wanjiru Shege that she cannot pick a woman running mate when she's vying for governor of Murang'a County.
Even if she feels as though that individual that she selected as a running mate would then be able to deliver on that. Well, okay, look, fair enough. I think what it does is that it locks certain people and certain choices out. But the trajectory in which things have been hurtling in the last 20, 25, 30, 50 years is that people have been locked out. Unfortunately, that women largely have been locked out because of this same thing. I agree that things are changing and things are looking a lot better. But the thing is, if you don't insist on both sides, one side always gets the shorter end of the stick. And if what we're aiming for is balance, then balance it in that way.
Brian in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
Good morning.
I'm good. I wish the governor was still part of the conversation. My point is, you can't force people, for example, to elect a person of either gender. I think that's the strongest thing they have, the will to make a choice. And if you say you reserve certain constituencies for certain gender, you kill the essence of democracy, number one. But for appointive position, and if the governor was there, Kulavasa, the proponents of it there was President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. If he was really sincere, his first cabinet was not even 2/3. And those appointees, it just takes his will, one person, not forcing people. Number two, we had an issue with the first Supreme Court. If you remember, there was a case if they had met 2/3. And the rule that they had met, despite having 2 women and 7 men in that seat. So for elective seat, please let the people decide.
So leave it open.
It will be progressive because
how shall we make it progressive?
Let me tell you how you can make it progressive. Number one, if the Governor Waiguru was not appointed a minister, I can bet she could not have been a governor right now. So you start giving them from those positions of appointees. For example, look at Samburu West MP, Naisula. She was nominated, now she's elected. From the affirmative action, the small one, not this fulfilling 2/3.
She was elected into the Senate, nominated to the Senate.
Look at Samburu North MP, Sarah. She was nominated, now she's elected.
She's elected.
Nakuru women, she was nominated, now she's elected. In small positions. So this thing should be progressive. Women should fight for it. Let it not look like they have been given in a silver platter.
But what
they
happens
should fight for it.
Those nominations, even as you look at them, then again, it's deliberately placing them in these positions, which is what a nomination is. That without that nomination, you would not get that position. So we're doing the same thing, more or less.
We're saying nominate.
We're saying nominate them.
Nominate a running mate who is a woman.
Yes. Without that nomination, you will not get the position.
I'm saying, you see, those nominated ones, they did not go to vote. For example,
It was not the will of the people. It was parties. But this one, you want to tell people you have to vote a man and a woman
Yes.
for this seat. You don't force people. People's will should be supreme.
Okay.
Because the governor said 60% of voters are women. If really people wanted to elect women, and there were those ballot papers, they did not have just men. Women were on the ballot, most of them. But people made choices. So, you see, that's the main thing, because people go to vote. If people really feel we should have women, they should elect women.
Thank you, Brian.
And in the area that they felt good leadership with women, they've elected women
They will
for a
elect
long
a
time.
woman, yes.
Even right now, we have senators who are elected. Last parliament, we did not have elected senators who are female.
Yep.
At least this one, we have 3.
That's true. That's true. And the number of women that you've mentioned who were nominated first and then they got elected are many, including even the Gilgil MP, who was also nominated into the Senate, and now she's elected as a member of Parliament.
Yeah, but we should not nominate to fulfill the 2/3 gender rule. It's just this small affirmative action, the small one.
Small
And
one.
they will progress.
People can be elected progressively, yes.
Right.
Thank you, Brian. Have a lovely day. Karanja in Naivasha, good morning.
Good morning, Eric and Du.
Good
morning.
Thank you very much. Now, I thought that the governor for Kirinyaga could be just in for the program so that it can be a robust discussion. But it is good he has done well his part. Now, I think I have a problem, I myself.
Okay.
If we empower these women, we empower so many women in Kenya today. Go to the church today. The leaders are women. Go to the primary school, secondary school. The people that we see, they are in bigger in percentages. They are women.
People that we see where as heads of secondary schools are women.
They are not heads, but they may be heads. They may be the head teachers. They may be the class teachers. The number of them, they are women. Look for instance, the GSC itself.
The CEO is a woman.
Yes, 70% they are women. This is, what is the ratio now? If we are empowering women, now where are the men? You see, we are discriminating men in a sense that men is now dignity is not variable.
If you look at national political positions, if you look at the national leadership, which is I think what we are focusing on right now, the majority of people representing the national leadership are men. Which is where this conversation is going. How many more women can you get in positions of national leadership, whether we are looking at county and national, MCAs, members of parliament, senators, governors, and then even as high as the executive? Majority
now,
today. Look at 47 counties and you have 2 female governors.
Okay, to me, they call it the gender rule.
2/3 gender rule.
If it, 2/3 gender rule is not well represented.
It's not represented at all.
Yes, given the fact that, you know, in some community like my community and the other communities like Masai, they believe the women is the one that to be told, don't do this. The man is the head. Right. Even the Bible says the man should be the head. Now, also, we see some countries that they are being led by women and they do very well. And some of the countries they are men. They are the leaders. The men are the leaders, but they don't do very well. So I think let us not say that the women should be given the seats. Let the women go for nomination, like the first caller, the previous caller had said. Now, if they do well, we elect them. We as the Kenyans elect these people to the seats.
If I can just help you out with that just a little bit, Karanja. The thing is that this conversation is fighting with a lot of cultural and traditional leaning. And so the argument is that if you allow people to make decisions like that, the cultural and the traditional come into play and people will not make the selection. Now, if you nominate women from the political party level, what you've done is to ensure that they have a platform upon which they can then compete politically. Without that, people will not make the decision because of the traditional and cultural learning.
Which cultures do we talk about?
Did we just talk about now?
Most of the time we talk about these cultures, and many a times we look at the pastoralist communities. These pastoralist communities, we've just talked about the Samburu, who have Maison Leshomo, Naisula Lesuda, and many others who have been elected by the people.
Right.
Same. The Kajedo Maasai, the Narok Maasai, the Turkana, the Northeastern, the Somali, they elect women. So what cultural issues are we talking about?
Are we talking about now you're able to pick out one or two, but the overriding belief here, didn't you just hear what he said? The overriding belief is that women are the ones who should be told what to do. The head is the man. 2021, that's an attitude, right?
That's a conversation. Karanja, thank you for your contribution. Amani, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Du.
Good morning, Amani.
Cici, good morning where you are. I know you're on beat, but good morning nevertheless. Okay, now when you look at the Constitution, Articles 56 and 100, they already talk about minorities and marginalized groups, which includes women, and it talks about affirmative action programs that need to be designed to ensure that these people are represented in governance. So we didn't need BBI to tell us that, okay? Parliament already has the go-ahead by the Constitution. Hence, I think they came up with a legislation of two-thirds, gender rule. Now, within that two-thirds gender rule, it also affects political positions, whether they're elected or otherwise. There is no exemption there that it does not touch political positions. Indeed, it does. So, in fact, our governors, our president, should be obliged by the same legislators to actually have a deputy. If it's a male who is running for the presidency, then the deputy should be a female, and vice versa. And that should be all the way right down the political spectrum. There's no but and if here. We're talking about affirmative action. Right. We're not being done a favor. This is the Constitution 2010 that Kenyans passed.
There you go.
So we should have the entire requirement being that all these positions should have both genders on the ticket.
Absolutely. If you really want to sort this thing out and get the affirmative action in place, it's the only way to do it. And it means that it's a balance. Everybody is represented. Men are not left out. Women are not left out.
Okay. Thank you very much, Amani.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Asante. 0719-012-600. We'd like to hear from you, and also on social media, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Should it be mandatory for governor and presidential candidates to pick running mates of opposite gender, starting with 2022 election? Should it be mandatory for candidates in the governor and presidential election to pick running mates of opposite gender? If you're a woman, you pick a running mate who is a man. If you're a man, you pick a running mate who's a woman. Should we make that mandatory? Let's hear from you. 27 minutes to 10. Time for a break. Take a look at the weather and traffic. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
In the quest of saving an ailing son, Sonia does the unthinkable. Will the guilt of her misdeeds haunt her, or will she come clean? Catch Mother's Guilt at 6 p.m. every Monday to Friday, only on KTN Home.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the situation. The weather with Spice FM.
It's cloudy in Nairobi at 17, highs of 22 and lows of 13 today. In Nakuru, light rain at 18, highs of 23. It'll come down to lows of 14. And Nyeri continues to rain this morning at 14, highs of 20. 14 will be the low today. And in Mombasa, rather in Kisumu, we're looking at cloudy conditions at 24, highs of 27 and lows of 17. Kakamega is cloudy at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 14. Mombasa now is raining at 26, highs of 28 and lows of 23. Malindi at 27, light rain, going the highs of 28 and lows of 25. Looking out into Kampala, 21 and light rain right now, 26 the high and lows of 17. And in Dar es Salaam, it's sunny at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 22. And out in Lagos, 25 degrees and raining, highs of 29 and lows of 25. Kinshasa is cloudy at 23, highs of 31 and lows of 22. Paris is sunny at 17, it'll go to highs of 29 today. And there's a haze over London skies at 14, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Out in Beijing, it's sunny at 24, going into late afternoon. 24 will be that high for today, lows of 13. And out in New York, coming into early Monday morning, it's cloudy at 22, highs of 28 and lows of 17.
Spice up your life.
Okay, down to a dull roar on some of those major roads today. Not so bad on Jogo Road now. Looking a lot better than it was about an hour ago, but then still heavy right around the Makadara train station. Getting into the city won't be too much of a headache, at least not for now. It's also died down on the Thika Superhighway. We're just seeing that spot of traffic just at the Pangani underpass and then joining from Kiambu Road. Not as bad as it was earlier. The city centre seems to be opening up just a little bit now that we're officially out of traffic hour, but we still have some traffic here and there. There's that bottleneck at the outbound Mombasa Road right at the airport turnoff, but that will continue for some time. Don't forget, this week more construction happens on the expressway and that affects traffic on Mombasa Road. Fingers crossed, guys, that it won't be too terrible, or we'll keep an eye on things. Tell us about your alternate routes, see what we can use. SpiceFM KE on Twitter through today. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
23
Spice
minutes
FM.
to 10. The conversation continues. Should it be mandatory for governor and presidential candidates in 2022 to pick running mates of the opposite gender? This is the question we're asking ourselves. So yes, opinion seems to be divided. There are those that are saying, look, yes, this is a requirement of the Constitution already, that we shall ensure there is affirmative action. And the best way to ensure affirmative action is by also making it mandatory at this executive level. Others are saying, no, that is undemocratic, because you're basically telling the people that they have no choice. Their choice shall be restricted to a certain level, to a certain degree. That you're saying, yes, I like Ndu, but I don't like her running mate.
Right. Allow them to pick.
Allow them to pick. The question here, though, is at that ballot, all right, people at the nomination stage, when somebody is going for nomination, they are nominated as Uhuru Kenyatta, okay, by the party. They are nominated as Mike Sonko at the party. They are not nominated as Mike Sonko and Igathe.
No.
The nomination that was happening in Jubilee in 2017 was for either Mike Sonko or for other. Who else was there vying for the Jubilee ticket? Peter Kenneth also wanted the Jubilee ticket. He didn't get it. So it was the person. And then that person chooses their running mate and they come campaigning. So the choice they are giving you is their choice already as a voter. You either accept, you like Sonko but you don't like Igathe, vote them out. Or don't vote for them, rather. You like Igathe but you don't like Sonko, choose whether you want to vote for them or not. So I don't get that argument. But let's hear from my other callers as well. Ed.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
I do.
Hi, good morning.
I hope you guys had a good weekend.
We did have a good
You were
weekend.
walking in the rain this morning, my friend.
Yeah, and apparently I went to pick the car and there was I had a puncture.
Mm-hmm.
The spare tire actually didn't even have any pressure, so it has been a very weird, rough morning.
Pole sana.
Salimia mzee.
Mzee anajivinjari. When we talk to him, he's listening to you. Now, Ed,
Okay. Yes.
do you support these zebra tickets?
Wow.
No, I don't, because if the opposite gender is going to say that we need ourselves as a running mate by the Constitution because you're going to create more venture for women and youth, that is hogwash. You've been using that all along. That's a card that has been played. The card was played when we were getting women rep positions. So if you play that card again, honestly speaking, I think the other gender or the gender speaking people, we should find another line.
Are you saying that you see no merit in this conversation?
I see no merit whatsoever because now let me ask you a question.
Ask me.
If I had 100 bigwig politicians that I can choose as my running mate, and only one woman in 100, and that one woman in 100, we not in terms or we don't have the same political ideologies.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me that I have to take that woman?
Yes.
Yes.
Because of the Constitution.
Because left on your own, you wouldn't. And then you're leaving out a gender that also has something to contribute. But because of previous behavior, it has been shown that this gender would suffer more in terms of the short end of the stick when it came to decision making.
No. I don't think, actually, I beg to differ on that too. I don't think the opposite gender currently suffers just because they are the opposite gender. I think actually they are of more benefit currently, unless, in exceptions of communities like in Northeastern where they are still FGM and everything, right?
You would be surprised, my friend, at the reasons as to why women are not nominated today in 2021. The reasons why they're not given these positions. And it has everything to do, has a lot to do with their gender and nothing else. There are people today, there are women today who, even if you listen to what the governor said, there are women today who will not take up this position because they are a bit timid in terms of how they will be welcomed. Whether they have the qualification, they would have more degrees than a thermometer, it doesn't matter. But because they bear this particular gender, they will not be selected. Today, I'm not talking about something that happens 100 years ago. Today.
Right now, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yes.
When you go with that line, I can say maybe, yes, there are some parts that need to wake up. But currently, you can agree with me, where the female gender is empowered, it's been empowered more than the male gender.
Of course, because they've come from a position of thorough disadvantage.
I wouldn't agree with you, though. That it has been empowered more? No, not
No, it has not been. It has come from a place of... what you've seen is that there has been more agitation for recognition because it has been depressed for the last however long. That's why it would look as though the conversation is out in the open because they have gone... this particular gender has gone through centuries of depression.
So I think I'm just going to go, my last remark, I'm going to go with what Muthui said some time back. Over-representation doesn't mean you're going to get results.
Okay. Thank you, Ed.
Have a good one.
Cheers,
you too. Zachary, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Wherever Mr. Mwalimu Andrew is, should know that we wish him well. Now, this is my point. The idea of empowering the girl child has left most of us thinking that being a woman is being disabled. Actually, when you talk of women, I think of somebody disabled, somebody not empowered, And this is a lie. This is a lie. This is a lie. Let me tell you, in 2021, especially in Kenya, somebody fronting herself, I'm a woman, I should be given the first priority. No, this is no. Everyone has been given a chance to go to school. The Constitution has said that women have got the right to inherit even property. And I want you to try this joke. When you go home, Mr. Eric, I know you have a family, yeah? You say that, I feel tired, I want us to now part ways. That what you tell you, okay, you are saying whatever you are saying is okay, but then let us look at what we have, yeah? And then she will go to court and say, okay, this guy came yesterday and said that she wants us to part ways, and it's like we are to now split whatever we have or whatever he has into two, yeah? So let everyone present his credentials, his or her credentials.
So, Zachary, you're saying no to affirmative action?
No, that is a lie. That is a lie. It's a lie that has been told to us. It belongs to the Jewish, I don't know, the medieval ages. I tell you this, Mr. Eric, yeah? I am a twin to my sister, yeah? And we were brought up together. We would scramble for food together. In fact, she would sometimes give me gifts, yeah? We went to school together. Sometimes he could defeat me. I have got also other sisters who, when we have something to share, they come, even if they are married, yeah? They show up.
If you went back today to Gatondo South, what's your ward in Gatondo South?
My ward is Kiganjo.
If you went to Kiganjo in Gatondo South today, and both Zachary and his twin sister vied for an elective position, who's more likely to get elected?
Let me say this. It would depend on our convincing power. And Mr. Eric, let me tell you. I remember some years I used to talk to some old women who would tell me how difficult it was for a woman even to be hard and or to go to school, yeah? And I remember telling you there that there's a place called Kaboi. I know you know it, yeah? That is where girls who would actually feel that, we do not want to go through the rites of circumcision, yeah? They would go there, and there are some missionaries who are ready to house them and probably take them through the stages of education. That one is not happening. Everyone has got a chance, especially in places like Central Province, Nyanza, maybe the places that would consider empowering the women, yeah, and giving them the privilege of, you are a woman and the culture is against you. It is places like where like in the Masai, not even in Masai, in northeastern places, yeah. But if you go to Nairobi, if you go to Central, if you go to Nyanza, women are actually shining, yeah. I tell you, I work with Muslim, Mr. Eric, finally. I tell people that I work with the schools, yeah? And if you visit a girls' school, there's so much energy. You talk to some girls and you find them, these girls are very sharp, yeah? They are sharp and they are shining more than the boys. So why should we actually, for a very long time, and try to say that, we are women, we are a disenfranchised? No, that is a lie.
Thank you then, Zachary. Asante.
Thank you.
Asante. Renson Ingong.
Hi, Eric.
Hi. Please switch off your radio. Thank you.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, Renson.
Now, I think the conversation is not relevant for this side of the world.
Which side of
the world?
This, Africa, where I believe this conversation should be held by people who run balanced budgets. What we should be having conversation about is how to make sure that everyone of age contributes to the economy. Everyone is productive. Then after that, the thing of affirmative action will come naturally. We'll vote in women who are productive and that no one will be complaining. So I think the affirmative action conversation is equivalent to the climate change.
The reason why you have affirmative action, however, is because things do not come naturally. You would hope that they would come naturally, and they do not happen, and so then you have to introduce affirmative action.
No, I'm not saying we should not have it entirely, but we are having it too early. Just like we joined, Africa joined in the climate change conversation too early. When the developed world use cheap power, coal, then they're telling you they can't use it. Because they used it and they industrialized. As you are joining in that conversation too early, we are also joining in this conversation too early. Let's go through the cycles and we develop naturally.
Okay.
And then
I however, don't get the line that you've drawn there and said once we get everybody contributing to the national kitty, then the next thing naturally will be that we'll start having a conversation about representation. But how will that move from one to the other?
How it will move to the next one is once you're economically empowered, of course the quality of our citizens improves. Such that I heard the government saying, you need to, besides your gender, you need to present your qualifications and what you have done to your community. So when you present what you've done to the community, and to a citizenry that understands what they're doing, then they'll end up getting good leaders, whether you're a woman or a man.
All right. Yeah. Point made. Thank you, Renson. Jackie in Kisumu, good morning.
How are you, Latif?
I'm very well.
Now, I have an issue with the women leadership.
Okay.
Because most of the time, we don't see them. Like currently, even in my ward, I'm only seeing men vying. I mean, they are telling us that they want the seat, okay? But no one is coming out. I feel that in the Constitution, stand out. They shouldn't be as if they're disabled or something, that they're just given those things. They will work for it.
Why do you think women are not coming out? Because the same thing you're saying is what Governor Anne Waiguru was saying. When she's meeting with women opinion leaders, they don't consider themselves as people who
potential candidates.
Be potential candidates.
Yes.
Why do you think this is so?
I think because of our cultural behavior. Like most women feel we are not supposed to be in leadership.
Right.
And we work for each other. Not vote for them, yet we are the majority voters. Yes, it's our own problem. I don't feel that people should be forced to have a running mate to be a woman or both genders. Let somebody pick his or our own running mate.
Okay.
Because I've seen women in leadership who go for it and they work for it. Like, for example, what Governor said. Yes, the governor herself went for it and she got it.
And she got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So women should just stand out and go for it.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
Okay.
Big Bin, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you, Ricardo?
Good morning. Well. Fine, thank you.
Yeah, I'll say I am a presidential aspirant and a candidate, not because I'm young or because I'm a hustler, real hustler, but I'm going for that seat because I have an agenda that I want to do or deliver to our citizens. So the fact that I'm young or I'm a hustler or either I'm a poor person will come later. I feel that the conversation about gender is very necessary but not mandatory. So that, of course, the majority poor, young, and maybe women should be represented in the government so that they can represent the interests of their groups. But this one, election is a political process and through voting. Therefore, these groupings need to be educated and need to see the sense in electing such individuals from their groups, but not by the virtue that they belong to that group, but by the virtue that they have something they can offer to citizenry of this country. Yes.
Okay. So are you saying, because where we are at right now, Pitkin, is that we do not have many people who are presenting themselves as women candidates for elective positions. And among the reasons is, cultural beliefs, socialization. Others include the fact that political parties are not even supporting them, financial,
right,
and everything else. Now, for us to accelerate that conversation, that's why, for example, the Constitution came up with a woman rep position. Having 47 seats that are guaranteed, you're going to have 47 seats in the National Assembly that are women. Should we be accelerating this further by saying, even at the executive level?
Yeah, it's very important. Like I'll tell you, if I become a president today, I'll have a balanced gender at the executive, you see? But that will be based on what attributes or what are these gender balance maybe executive bring to the citizens of this country. Of course, politics is so expensive, and that's why majority of young people like myself or women find it very hard maybe to contest. Like now, I'm a young common citizen here, a hustler, a real hustler. When you're talking of a gap for presidency, the expenditure cap is at 4.4 billion. You see, it's very expensive. So you find such groupings do not find it very easy for them to at least sell their agenda within either to their constituents. But at the end of the day, I will tell you, even if I become a president today, I'll work on a balanced gendered government. But even in the balanced gender, there are women of sense, not only women, there are women who have attributes. There are young men and women who have ideas who can transform this country. It's not that by the virtue that they are women, they need to be considered, or that the virtue that they are young people, they need to be considered. But they have something for this country. I believe that they will not have proportional representation in the governance of this country, so that the majority class feel represented and at least something can be done for this country.
Okay. Good points.
Yes.
Thank you,
Eric.
Asante sana.
Yes.
All right. Kothbiro says, women's rep was a role that was created for affirmative action. Let's do a scorecard on that. I'm wondering if we need to go down that road again.
An upheaval?
So what is a scorecard? We are looking at whether the women who've been elected as county MPs have had any impact.
Sure, or that...
I would say 100% yes.
Or has it been that because you've had this position that you've then seen the representation agenda of women now being brought front and center? Has it made an impact then in the balance of gender in leadership with this role? I don't even think that, have you seen the county agenda then being progressed? I think that's clear, that you've seen work that has been done by virtue of the fact that this position was established. Now, the gender agenda, has it moved forward as a result of this role?
Has it?
Maybe is what you need to audit.
Has it?
Seen more women then come out?
And speak about the need for more women?
Has it brought
If we were
this
to audit
about?
it that way, then I could argue and say organizations such as KEWOPA, the Kenya Women Parliamentarians Association, should have been more vocal in making sure that they bring out, what conversation Anne Waiguru is now having with the women at the grassroots.
At the grassroots, right.
This is a conversation that all elected women leaders should have had in the last 4 years, 5 years. With just going down and identifying more and more women at the grassroots level and encouraging them and telling them, this was my experience. So it's about financial, this is how you can go about that. If it's about campaigning, this is how you can go about it. If it's about having self-confidence, this is what you can do about that. Because, yes, one of the unspoken expectations of the 47 positions was that they are going to be champions of affirmative action.
In their constituencies.
Across the country. Now we had 47 elected. Then they joined others who were elected in the constituencies. They joined others who were elected into the Senate and nominated to the Senate and nominated to the National Assembly as well. Those are many women. Now imagine if KEWOPA was actually very vibrant and active in saying, we have held meetings, we have brought in political parties, we have gotten development partners like UNDP and others to support our programs, and we've been running these programs where now we can sit back and say, in the next election, we are going to have X number of wards out of the 1,000 wards in the country. We have 200 wards where we are sure there are strong women who are going to vote.
That we can then now take from this level to the next.
90 constituencies, we have very many who could do that. Maybe that's where they are. And we should bring one of these women reps, one who has served twice. Sabina Shage is one of them.
She is.
Yep. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. It's now coming up to the top of the hour. Leaving you with the day's proverb is a Maasai proverb. You know where you're coming from, but you do not know where you're going. There's a song like that, huh?
There's a song for everything, my friend. I remember.
You know where you come from, but you don't know where you're going. That's the day's proverb. Ndu Oko and Eric Latif wishing you a lovely day. Join us again tomorrow morning for more conversations. Tomorrow we'll ask ourselves, is the media in touch with the people and what's happening in the country? One of the editors at the Standard Group will be joining us. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.